All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
Episode 266 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us, whether you were live streaming, podcasting, or YouTubing. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this time as we have a badass, jam-packed, fun-filled May show for you. Like Justin Timberlake said, it's going to be May. We're all up in May now, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to be here, man, because we have an awesome show with an awesome guest. Our guy is back. That is correct. The one and the only Mike Williams from the All Chiefed Up podcast. You know them. They've been kicking ass. Him and Steve have been absolutely doing their thing these last couple of years. They've grown their show from the ground up, and they are doing their thing, man. And like I always say, another podcast, another episode for that ass. We're going to have another episode with our guy, Mike Williams, for that ass. We're going to have a great time. We're going to get his thoughts on the draft. We're going to get his things on all things Chiefs related. I hope you guys are ready for it because he'll be here in about an hour's time. So strap in and get ready, guys, because we have a fun-filled show for you guys today. First and foremost, we say it at the top of every single show. We say it at the bottom of every single show. You guys know what we're trying to do here, man. We're really trying to grow our YouTube presence, and we know that there's been a lot of growth there over these last couple of weeks. We do thank you guys so much for that, but we are nowhere near where we want to get to. We want to get to our 1,000 subscriber position. We are going to get there soon. We just need your guys' help. So if you've not already done it, go to YouTube, hit subscribe on our YouTube page of the Spoken Podcast, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and then get in the chat because another portion of our show, the most important portion of our show, is a segment we like to call Speak It, where we give you guys the platform, the opportunity to take over the entire show with your takes, questions, comments, concerns, whatever you guys have for us, you lay it on the line for us, and we will get to you guys because that is, like I said, the most important thing that we do here at the Spoken Podcast is to communicate with you and listen to myself on my phone as I sit there and try to listen to you guys. And here we go.
Is there an echo in here?
It's an echo. And I wanted to give a shout out. Just a little new thing I want to do. I want to give a shout out to the people that join us at the top of the show as well. I see that our guy Chiefer65 TPT is already here. He said, "Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go, Chiefer65 Toss Power Trap." We appreciate you for being here already. We know that we're gonna have a lot of regulars here, so get in the comments now, guys. If you have some takes, like I said, we can put your takes on the show throughout. But if you have some questions, we will save those for Speak It. So stay tuned. Don't get discouraged if your question doesn't get answered immediately. We promise you, we will get to them in Speak It. So hold tight with us, guys. But give us whatever you guys got today. It's about having fun. It's Saturday. Let's let our hair down for us bald guys. Let's let our beard down. Let's have a good time. Let's have some fun today, guys. Trevor, how the hell are you doing this week, bro?
Terrific, man. It's been a long week, but we made it to Saturday. I'm ready to dive into some more of the analysis of these draft picks, and looking forward to having a solid guest today, bro.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, man. This is going to be a fun show, guys. Like I said, I get so amped up when we have big-time guests like this because it gives us an opportunity to get some ideas bounced off of us as well, man, because I feel like I told Mike he was one that got me into the whole draft process. I really was never a guy that really drafted, did mock drafts, anything like that. Listening to All Chiefed Up, watching All Chiefed Up, they really got me inspired to do so. And so I always love to get a chance to talk to Mike about his thoughts and his opinions on things. There's a lot of opinions going around the Kansas City area right now, Trevor, when it comes to this new rendering that we got. Well, I don't know if you guys missed it or not. If you didn't, you know what I'm talking about. But if you did miss it, you're about to find out. So we know that we saw the Jackson County turn down the 3/8 sales tax, the new proposal for the next 40 years, where Arrowhead gets a quote-unquote renovation. And obviously, the Royals would go from Kauffman Stadium to downtown in the Crossroads area. The people of Jackson County voted that down, and now the Chiefs and Royals are essentially going to be free agents within the next 6 to 7 years. And Trevor and I told you guys on this show, as soon as this all happened, we knew what this meant. We knew that this meant that the Chiefs were going to be in Kansas. This doesn't mean the Royals are, but this definitely means the Chiefs are going to be in Kansas. because we've heard the way the governor, Laura Kelly's talked about it. We've seen the way things have been going down on the Kansas side, how aggressive they've already been, but also the handling, or rather the mishandling of things on the other side of things, in the Missouri side, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I want to start here, Trevor. Let's go and put this up. According to Matt Evans from KNBC on Twitter, he said this earlier in the week. Happening now, the Kansas legislation is making a play for the Chiefs and Royals. The conference committee on Senate and House Commerce is meeting right now, taking up a bill to create a quote-unquote major professional sports star bond district, end quote. So if you guys don't know what the star bond is, that's basically just the sales tax money that you've already been paying that is not going to come out of your wallet now. And this is actually how the whole Legends area is a thanks to this. Because if it wasn't for these star bonds, that area would still be just a grass pad. Really, it would be. And Trevor and I saw the development of it back when we were in our junior high days, when they started to really blow that area up. It's all because of the star bonds that Kansas already had. So this is the same process. Now, we saw that they were all meeting in Topeka, the state capitol. There was obviously a tornado that hit simultaneously in Topeka, and obviously they had to take shelter. It just felt like kind of a wacky time for them to try to push things through, especially with the state tax thing they had to pass as well. There was another state tax thing they had to pass as well. So there were some other priorities that they had on their hands. But I wanted to show you guys these renderings and get to the updates, because these renderings are a lot of fun. Sure, let's throw the first one up there. Oh. I can't tell you how beautiful that looks from the 10,000 feet view, because I know exactly where this is going to be. This is going to be on the, so if you're familiar with the area, I'm sorry if you're not, but just bear with me for a second. If you're on the 435 side of things, on the Kansas side, before you're passing Legends heading north, you will see the merger for 70 Highway going east. On the left side of 70 East is a large group of just trees and land that nothing's really going on over there. That is where the supposed area for the new Arrowhead is going to be. And so what you're looking at right here is the 10,000 feet landscape of how it's going to look. And what would you look at it? There's a lot of parking.
There's good old dome.
And it's shaped as a football as well, which is kind of cool. Let's look at that next slide. It's a little bit closer on the right side. It'll be on the outside. Oh. Ooh. It's pretty. It's a lot of pretty right there, guys. And I love the fact the parking's so close, just like it is at Arrowhead right now. It's it feels very tangible. It's obviously a lot different build-wise than Arrowhead, but it's still, I think, encapsulates what's most important. And I'll talk about that in a second. Let's get to that next one, Trevor, when it shows the people walking up. There will be no general admission waiting for you. These will be standing room only at best. As you can see, the people are ready for a big game. It looks like this would be like a Sunday night football game, Monday night football game in this scenario. And then the final slide I want to show you guys is the inside, what it would look like in experience-wise from the football field. Oh, baby.
That big old screen.
Now, obviously, this is all just fantasy, and this is shout out to the company Manica, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Our producer Clay Windler from Red Trap Cinema has actually worked with them before, and he absolutely sang their praises this week on X and Twitter, and said that these are great people. They know what they're doing. So this is just a mock-up, though, guys. This is just an idea of what they came up with, a concept. This doesn't mean this is exactly how it's going to look, but I ain't going to lie to you guys. If this is what it looks like exactly, give me it.
Damp.
Please give me
Very
it.
damp.
Now, it's moisture. There's moisture going on down in the lower vicinities, and you would think that a lot of Chiefs fans, especially in our age group, Trevor, would be all about this, because we hear people talk all the time about, man, we need to get alternate jerseys, and they need to do this, and man, and in the same breath, they would shit on the proposal that the Chiefs had for Arrowhead when it came to the renovations, as they should, because it was a joke. But then they see this and they said, "Oh, this is lame. This ain't unique." I had a guy that I respect vehemently at Arrowhead Live, Grant Morse. Him and I had a little back and forth on Twitter this week about this, because he said he doesn't like it because it's not unique. But for me, I don't need it to be unique.
Right.
Because what is unique? It doesn't need to look like a 1970s ballpark or stadium. No, it doesn't. Yeah. Because we know that the move that all these owners are trying to go with is more of a modernized look. Do I like the retro style of Arrowhead Stadium? Yes. It's what we grew up in. Sure, it's all we know. Mm-hmm. But we also know that stadium is very archaic. And it's hard to upkeep a building like that. Our guy Grant Morris at Arrowhead Live was trying to compare, Wrigley Field and Fenway Park and how they keep those places up after over 100 years of being there. It's a lot easier to maintain a ballpark that has 40,000 seats than 78,000 seats.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger body to work on, especially when you had wear and tear on the other side of the complex with the Royal Stadium being on that side too.
Well, and to add more context to that, those Wrigley and so on, etc., those stadiums are not looking to host Super Bowls. The Chiefs in Kansas City want to host a Super Bowl. That is the goal.
That's exactly
right. That
has
not changed.
That's exactly right. This is what I need people to understand, because we're not going to harp on this too long. I just wanted to show you guys these and then move on with the conversation. But I hope people understand that when it comes to Clark Hunt and this whole thing, I hope you guys understand that this is a business to him. That's not an offensive thing to say. Yes, I'm sure he deeply cares about Chiefs fans. You know why?
It is a business, though. People do have to grasp that. Yeah.
The reason he cares, the majority of the reason he cares is because he knows you're the customer. And it's no different than going to Walmart. It's no different than going to Target. They're selling you an experience. They're selling you something consumable. Yeah. And we all like football. That's why we're here. That's why we're listening to a show like this and talking about stuff like this, because it's what we consume. So we are the customer, whether you're a casual or you're a diehard. He wants both. And we know that the casual is the one they want the most because the diehard's going to be there anyway. We talked about this. If they kept Arrowhead as is, the diehards are still going. But you know who's not? You're not going to see Ben Stiller in the general admission area. You're not going to see random celebrities as much. But you know what? If you have a dome like this, a retractable roof, if you have places that can stay warm all year round, you not only get to have those celebrities around more often, but you're also going to, like Trevor said, have concerts throughout the year. You can't do that at Arrowhead in January. No. You can't have concerts there. You can when you have a retractable roof or a dome like this. And the most important part of all of it that we need to be down with, and why this is the best idea, if we're all wanting the winning to continue, is if you have something like this, it's going to sustain Patrick Mahomes a lot longer. What do I mean by that? Guys, is it any coincidence to you that Tom Brady's career extended when he went to a warm city in Tampa Bay? You notice how different he played when he was in the cold area of New England, still in his late 30s, early 40s, and then went to Tampa Bay and he was rejuvenated? Sure, he had a few better weapons, but you could tell he was rejuvenated because he was playing in warm weather on a consistent basis, and most of the teams he faced in his division were dome teams. So that extends their career. Look at Drew Brees. He played almost 20 years, guys. Played in a dome stadium. And the Falcons, his division team, he plays twice a year. Dome. Like, there's a lot of dome games. There's a lot of warm games in Tampa and Carolina. There's a lot of, you know what I mean? You guys get what I'm saying? Like, these are what sustains players. Peyton Manning played over half his career in a dome. And he played 17 seasons. Most guys aren't Brett Favre, where you're going to be out and play in the cold for 18, 19 years. That doesn't exist. But here's the even thing about Brett Favre. He went to where? Minnesota.
Not even just that.
Rejuvenated and played in a dome.
The dude was addicted to pain meds for his whole career. Also, he's playing with that. So, I mean, think about that for a second.
So, if we want, great point. If we want to see Patrick Mahomes play football for as long as he can possibly play, this is the move. So, from any point you look at it, guys, from an entertainment perspective, from a relocation perspective, from a business perspective, from a Patrick Mahomes perspective, this makes all the sense in the world, and it's going to happen because of the next thing we're going to show you guys. So according to the same reporter, Matt Evans from KNBC, this is on May 1st. Update. I talked to the handler of the star bond proposal for the Chiefs and Royals today. He tells me the legislator is planning to take this up at their anticipated special session. He says, quote unquote, overwhelming support from both sides of the aisle and from the governor's office. In other words, guys, Laura Kelly is going to give them a special session. They're not going to have to wait till January to do this and get this back on the ballot. They're going to have a special session to set this aside and say, okay, are we going to get this done or not? There's no tornadoes today. There's no us hiding, or there's no, some other tax we got to attack first. This is the whole reason we're here today, fellas, ladies and gents. What are we going to do about it? This is in Kansas's hands. Because meanwhile, while all this is happening, this is what's happening on the Missouri side. Go check out Frank White over here, still barking at Manny Abarca for simply just trying to keep the team in the Jackson County, or at least the Missouri side of things. Here's Frank White telling the law is explicit. No proposal for a park sales can be tax can be resubmitted to voters within 12 months of its previous rejection. In other words, Frank White just simply does not want progress in this city. If anything, you can make the KC wants regression in this city. For whatever reason, this man's still employed at the position he is. He's absolutely shamed the legacy he had as once a Royals great. It's pathetic what he's done. And Manny Abarca's out here simply trying to save things as the treasurer of Missouri, man. I feel bad for him for having to deal with Frank White's dumbass. But while that's all going on, again, on the Kansas side, they're sitting here coming up with an actual plan, a tactical plan. And with these special sessions, with the star bonds in place, I don't know how this doesn't happen, Trevor. And you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, this includes the Royals. I'm somebody, and look, I'm a Kansas guy. Born and raised Kansas. I would love the Royals to be over here. But you know what I'd rather, honestly? Have that downtown ballpark. I really would. And if that doesn't happen, then how about this? Build the Royal Stadium, and this sounds crazy right now, but it won't in 15 years. Build a Royal Stadium in downtown KCK. Knock out some of those old decrepit areas Trevor and I know really well. Still keep like Chicago's and some of those cool little places. Slaps is right there.
Yeah.
Keep all that.
It's close to the border.
But yeah, put the stadium right there, and guess what happens then, Trevor? Because KCMO doesn't want it, and they blew it. They said no, we don't want the downtown ballpark. Take it down to downtown KCK if this gets approved, and let downtown KCK flourish.
Well, yeah, build some lofts, build some condos down there. People can live close by it. Yeah,
look at Detroit. Go look at the old pictures of Detroit before they put, I think it's Comiskey, if I'm not mistaken, before they put Comiskey Park down there in downtown, and now look at Detroit, how it's flourished.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's too many samples, dude. A downtown baseball stadium has never really failed, as far as I know, in our history of me being alive. So, I mean, as far as that being the right move, it mathematically has worked every time. And a lot of people don't like it, and I get it, but big picture-wise, man, it always tends to help cities flourish more big picture-wise than, small-minded stuff.
So putting it out there, guys. This is where we're at right now with the ballparks. I know this is something we're all getting a little tired of because we want an idea of what's going to happen. We want a result. And this is where we're at right now. So hopefully we do get that result when the special session happens. I don't know when it's going to happen. I have a feeling it's going to happen this month. And when it does, I do believe that the legislator is going to get this thing passed. Governor Laura Kelly is going to pass it. And we're going to see ourselves at least one of these teams on the Kansas side of things. And we'll definitely happily bring over two, because according to the Star Bonds, they can support, fully finance. I hope you guys understand what this means. They will fully finance not one, but two stadiums for any team that has a stadium of over 30,000 seats.
And I believe it's a 30-year plan,
and
too.
It's a 30-year finance, which means that Clark Hunt, who originally was asking KCMO for $500 million, would get over $1 billion of whatever it takes, $2 billion to build a new Arrowhead.
Right.
And he wouldn't have to pay a cent. So you best believe that he's looking forward to this opportunity, guys. So stay tuned, guys, for what could happen, because I think in the very near future we're gonna know. I'm almost guaranteeing you before the end of this year, before 2025 is here, we will know where the Chiefs and Royals are going to be playing in the next 5 to 6 years.
Wind up about to blow up.
Yes, and make no mistake about it. Also, just a little sidebar. I know the Chiefs have their lease up as in 2030 or 2031. Make no mistake about it. They pay their leases, I think, are like $450,000 a year to Arrowhead, because they don't actually own Arrowhead. The complex does. Make no mistake about it. If the Chiefs know they can get their stadium, let's say today that passes, that special session happens, and they pass it, the Chiefs sign a contract with Kansas right now. By 2028, they'll have a stadium over there. Right now.
Oh yeah, Kansas ain't playing around, bro.
They'll pay the $1 million, the $850,000 to $900,000, whatever it is, to buy out their lease with Arrowhead over there, and by 2028, they'll have a stadium over here in Kansas by the Legends. So just remember all that, guys. Like I said, I know it seems like we're getting ahead of things. We're trying to keep up with things at this point. So that's where we're at right now. Some great news happened this week, man.
My guy.
It was weird because of the way it was translated at first, but nevertheless, it's still great because this is such a feel-good offseason, and this, I think, put the absolute cherry on the top. We know that Chris Jones got his extension after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. We knew Patrick Mahomes was like, you ain't going anywhere, man. And he made sure that didn't happen. He's obviously staying. Steve Spagnuolo and Joe Cullen got their extensions. Then you see Andy Reid, Brett Veach, Mark Donovan got their extensions. And we're seeing a lot of players being brought back. We see them sign Hollywood Brown. We see them have this draft that we're going to talk about a little bit with our guy Mike Williams. We've seen some really good things happen. And then we see the guy that is the most deserving of them all, that has never put himself first, that has always sacrificed money for winning finally get his payday. That is one Travis Kelce. Trevor, if we could, man, let's go ahead and play that video when he announced it on Chiefs social media.
Get that here real quick.
You're good, man.
Back at it again, baby. Woo! Had to see a little Super Bowl right there, man. Feels good to be in KC. I remember coming here 12 years ago, man. It's an honor and a pleasure, and I can't wait to get after it these next 2 years, but no better than right now. Getting fired up for this year. Just got out on the field with the boys. Doggone, we're back at it, baby. Chiefs forever.
Did you guys catch it? Like I was so pumped watching it, and then you see Kelce almost cry. Like he got emotional. He said, "I came here 12 years ago." He hits his chest, and I'm like, "God damn it, Kels!
Big emotional Yeti over here, bro.
Yeah, don't fucking make me cry watching you celebrate getting a raise, bro. Like I love the video.
I'm saving my tears for when he retires.
Yeah,
that's my all-time guy. That's gonna be rough.
I was emotional when I watched Jason Kelce. He never played. He was never a Chief.
Bro, you ain't lying.
But watching his, I got emotional as fuck, man. Yeah. But yeah, when Kelce finally announces it, and that's the thing we're gonna have to talk about in a second here, because it was originally reported that this was going to be an extension through 2027.
Right.
I think it was via Ian Rappaport was the one that got the scoop
2-year
first.
Extension, yeah.
It was supposed to be a 2-year extension according to Ian Rappaport. About 20, 30 minutes later, he recanted that and said, I read the text wrong. It's actually what they're doing is they're basically paying Travis Kelce more money through 2025, which is when his contract officially expires. So let's go ahead and throw those numbers up there real quick, Trevor. So in 2024, this is according to Arrowhead Pride, in 2024, Kelce has been due to earn a $12 million salary and a $250,000 work bonus, along with a per-game roster bonus totaling $662,000. His cap hit also carried a $2.6 million proration from contract restructures that created cap space in previous seasons. This added up to $12.9 million in salary and bonuses and a 2024 cap of $15.5 million. The new deal reduces his 2024 base salary to $5.75 million. Per game roster bonus is replaced with a single $11 million roster bonus. The bonus, along with his salary and workout bonus for the coming season, brings his 2024 compensation to $17 million. The whole amount was guaranteed at signing. So Kelce was given basically a $4.1 million raise for the coming season, which pushes his 2024 cap to $19.6 million.
Yeah, that's one of those thank you for being fucking legendary bonuses right there. In this past offseason run he was on, his all-time past offseason or postseason run was solidifying this kind of money right here.
And you know what the best part about it is? He's still underpaid.
I mean, oh, you ain't lying, dude.
$17 million for Travis Kelce.
Yeah. If he wasn't making all the off-field money, I believe that they probably would have gave him more.
Or if his position said WR as opposed to TE.
Sure.
He'd be making twice this.
Because the numbers he just put up in this past playoffs, bro.
If Travis Kelce was a wide receiver, he'd be making over $30 million a year.
I mean, it's Jerry Rice. He's putting Jerry Rice numbers, man.
As our guy Nick Wright said on First Things First this last week, and I've been echoing these sentiments. I'm glad Nick said it at the national level because we've been saying it here at the bottom level.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, guys, we have to understand, he is literally on the precipice of becoming the greatest receiving player in the history of the NFL postseason.
Yep. Best pass-catching weapon of all time.
Yeah. And we're literally talking about a tight end, guys, who's a third-round pick, who spent, at this point, half of his career with Alex Smith. No dish to Alex Smith, but he's no Patrick Mahomes. He didn't play his whole career with all-time greats like Tom Brady, which Gronk did. He spent half of his career with Alex Smith. And since 2018, his numbers have absolutely taken off, and he's put up unprecedented numbers at the tight end position. But Travis Kelce, guys, deserves every penny of this and more. So although we celebrated, we're like, oh man, I'm so glad he got a raise, he's still underpaid. And that's just that is praise to the character of who Travis Kelce is. He's celebrating this as if he got something big and proportional, when in reality, he's still extremely underpaid. This is a guy that understands, though, what his life is. He understands that he forever has a home here in Kansas City, and he can work with the Chiefs and make millions more dollars with this team after he's done playing football if he wants to. He's a man that knows he's about to probably make 20 or 30 movies in his career. He's a man that knows that he'll probably join his brother with Monday Night Football's crew in a couple of years. He's a man that also knows he's probably going to get married to the most famous and richest woman on the planet right now. So there's a lot going for him monetarily, so where he can celebrate things like this and still be okay with the fact that he's extremely underpaid.
And the craziest part about all that is, you say underpaid, I still think he's underrated. Because as great as Patrick Mahomes is, and obviously Patrick Mahomes is arguably the GOAT already at this point in his career. Travis Kelce has saved Patrick Mahomes in a lot of moments too, as far as having the knowledge and knowing where to be, because he's been that safety blanket. In order to be that safety blanket, you have to become the safety blanket and know where to go, know where to be, know how to make the plays that Patrick Mahomes needs you to make, right? So Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball to anybody all he wants, but the ball in the biggest moments tends to go to Kelce, and he still makes those plays play after play, time after time, and we're looking at winning 3 straight Super Bowls because of the dominance of this guy.
Outside of any Super Bowl, what is the most famous game in the Mahomes-Kelce era?
The Buffalo Bills game.
What was said before they took that ball with 13 seconds left? What did Kelce say?
A10. Yeah,
Who put the play together?
Shit, dude.
And then Mahomes said
it's more than just him being great. It's everything else.
Yes.
Him being Andy Reid even said it. He's the heart and soul of this team. He didn't mention Patrick Mahomes. Granted, Patrick Mahomes is the one out there doing the shit, but Kelce, this team goes as Kelce goes. His impact and his importance is still underrated to me, in my opinion.
This team, as currently constructed, is proving that yes, you can have your Tom Brady's and your Patrick Mahomes, who are obviously the godhead figures, right?
Yeah.
But you got to have your Teddy Bruschi's. You got to have your Gronks.
Troy Polamalu.
You got to have your Chris Joneses. You got to have your Travis Kelce's. Yeah. They are the difference makers. They are the ones that will literally change the outcome of games because of something they say, something they do, sometimes both.
Ed Reed's, all those
yes,
guys. Yeah.
These are foundational pieces you can't put a price tag on. So when we sit here and talk about money and Travis Kelce, it's never going to be enough in my eyes because he's worth more than anything they could ever pay him. Mm-hmm. And he knows that as well. He knows the value he brings to the table. So now the real question is, and the only question that's really left, is how much longer Travis Kelce plays. So again, we reiterated the fact this is not an extension. It does not go through 2027. It is not a 2-year deal. It is, yes, they're just paying him more money over these next 2 years, and then we see what happens. I tweeted out this week, we don't have the slides, so don't worry about it, but I tweeted out before I even knew the extension wasn't official. When we were told it was an extension, I still said that I don't view this as an extension. I view this as them just simply paying Travis Kelce what they feel he deserves now. I think there's a better chance, guys, that Travis Kelce retires after 2025 than he plays till 2027. Does that mean that I'm doubting he can continue to play if he wants to? No.
Especially if we get a three-peat.
I think Travis Kelce can play as long as he wants to. But I also think that there's coming a time, guys, when Travis Kelce's going to wake up and he realizes, I have literally done everything I've wanted to do at the NFL level. I have accomplished everything. I'm the greatest tight end of all time. I'm the greatest postseason receiver of all time. I am a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm a 4 or 5 whatever time champion. I have done everything. I am in my mid-30s. I still have my health. I have a gorgeous woman who's a billionaire as my woman. I got this future ahead of me. My brother's already on the media desk, going to do his thing, and he's going to kill it. And I could join him and be the next Manning brothers. Like, as great as it sounds to continue to play football, he doesn't have to wake up at 6 in the morning and go run sprints anymore. Yeah. He can just wake up and live his life. And every story I've heard from pros, once that day comes and you realize you're done, you're done. Even if you're still playing, you're mentally checked out. And I don't think Travis Kelce's the type of guy that's going to keep playing when he's mentally checked out. He is at all gung-ho, 100% on the board. I'm giving you this, my team, my everything, or I'm nothing. Yes, or I'm done. And I know I'm speaking from a distance here, guys, but I really do believe in the next 2 years we're going to know if Travis Kelce's going to wake up and say, it's time. Because I think, Trevor, and I don't want to speak too clearly on this. I want to get your thoughts on this because I know he's your favorite guy, and that's a position you pay close attention to. Yeah. But we've seen over these last couple training camps, Kelce doesn't like to practice. Kelce doesn't like to be out there with the young dudes who are hitting his hands when he's got the ball. Like, he's starting to get that old man irritability. I think, guys, we need to accept the fact that we are getting close to it. And it is sad because it's been so great. I call it the GOAT-to-GOAT connection because Patrick, I think, is the best quarterback who's ever lived and will continue to be. And Travis Kelce is by far the greatest tight end who's ever lived, in my opinion. All respect to Tony Gonzalez, but it's the truth. I'm going to be really sad when it's done. Yeah. And I think it's coming, guys. I think if I'm putting a wager on it, I think it's over the next 2 years. And I think that Travis is starting to show some signs of it. I think he's 100% still committed, but I think his body's talking a little bit. He's had tons of surgeries. He's gone through so much shit to stay on the field. He's sacrificed so much, man. I think that time's coming, man. I think depending on how things go, after the 2025 season, there's a really, really good chance, guys, that Travis announces his retirement. I really do believe that. What do you think, Trev?
It's tough to say that because of what he just did and him having just coming off of his best postseason performance against the best defense, the best string of defenses he's had to go against, like throughout that whole process of last year's postseason run. What he did to the Ravens defense, what he did to the Niners, what he did to all these teams that we played was remarkable, man. And obviously taking that game off and having fresh legs heading into the postseason helped a lot. But I mean, there's just the dude had multiple double-digit catches games, in this past postseason leading into the Super Bowl, and then obviously being great in the Super Bowl as well. It's just it's hard to say that this guy's gonna hang it up and his body is speaking, but at the same time he has lost a step, and I think it's pretty clear. But just what he has, the gift that he has upstairs, and what that connection he has with Pat is something that can extend a lot of guys' careers when they have that kind of connection. You saw it with Gronk too. Gronk's body was breaking down for years. He still was able to have that mind meld with Brady, especially when it came to like the red zone and shit. They just knew how to find each other.
Right.
And Brady just knew where to put the ball in the sweet spots for Gronk to go get it. That's something special, man. That's something that can last longer than it should, even when the bodies are starting to break down. But I agree. I mean, as much as I don't want to see Kelce go, I think there is a great chance if we three-peat, he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, what a better way to walk away from the game, ending the last stitch of this, a sewed into this magnificent career, his all-time career for Kelce, to go watch his brother call it quits.
Great.
And then ending his career with a three-peat, and then calling it quits, and then going and joining and doing all the extracurriculars and living the rest of his life. I mean, you can't write it better than that, right? So I would not be mad at all about that, man, if he went out that way. That would be an all-time legendary story, sports story for anybody ever. That's something that's never been done in the NFL. You do it, and then you're done. Boom, that's it. You hang him up as the greatest to ever do it, possibly the greatest receiving option in football history in the playoffs, and maybe entirely, while winning a three-peat and then calling it quits. It'd be the most legendary thing, and I could definitely see that happening. If we don't win, I mean, I guess I can also see him sticking around for a couple more years, because he's a guy that's going to want to go get another one. I think he really, really, really wants another one. Obviously, Pat's already calling his shot, saying we're going to go do it on the Logan Paul show. I don't know if you've seen that. He was already talking about how they're going to go get that third one.
Well, he was saying that he was going to do the corn dog play again.
Yeah.
Well, the only way they're going to do that is if they're in the Super Bowl again. So he pretty much predicted.
Pat's confident about that. Who am I to doubt that? But yeah. I mean, Kelce's my guy, man. That's my dog. I love that guy. I've been a massive supporter even through the early days when he was throwing flags at refs, and I mean I missed that shit. But at the same time, I've very much enjoyed the growth of who he's become as a man, as a brother, as a media person now. Creating his own content. It's really letting him and his brothers connection and their relationship show. In their vulnerable moments as well. It's just been a pleasure to see this guy become a great man in front of us and obviously develop into the all-time best receiving or tight end in general of all time. So my thoughts, man, I don't ever want to see this guy retire. He's my favorite player of all time, so I don't ever want to see that go away. But I think I would be completely on board if we win a third in a row and he calls it quits. I would be on board with that.
Right.
But if we don't and he wants to play a couple more years, I'm all for it too.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
Well, and it comes down to, I think, also postseason numbers. I think he wants to reach some numbers. So
there's milestones within reach right now.
He already owns the all-time postseason receptions record. He already owns that.
Yeah.
He is 343 yards away from passing Jerry Rice for all-time receiving yards.
Right.
And he is 4 touchdowns from passing Jerry Rice for the all-time touchdowns record.
Crazy.
And once he owns those, I mean, there's no more debating. Yeah. He's going to be, the greatest receiving option in the history of the postseason. And that, to me, makes you one of the GOATs of not tight ends, of receivers.
Yeah, his numbers, even his regular season number is going to be up there with anybody.
It's stupid. I mean, he's already got, almost 12,000 receiving yards.
We're talking Randy Moss. We're talking Megatron.
Yeah.
We're talking all these guys.
He's got over 70 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, I wanted to get a couple of these comments here. Shout out to you guys in the chat, man. You guys are making some good points. But Omar said something I thought was kind of interesting at first. He said, Kelce accepts less money knowing it's 50% Andy Reid offensive scheme. Any other team or OC and his stats will drop. I'm going to disagree here, Omar, for a reason, because although I do agree that Andy Reid is a large reason why Travis Kelce became the man he is, because Andy Reid, has been all about accountability. He's been like a father to him. And I do believe the scheme helps. What is the biggest thing that we talk about when it comes to, in particular, the Mahomes era of Travis Kelce's career? the improvisational skills, the things that Andy Reid lets them do.
Yeah.
No offense to Andy Reid, but that isn't so much about Andy. It's more about the connection that Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes have had.
Well, no offense to Alex Smith, but Alex Smith, when the play broke down, was looking to run.
Right.
His eyes stopped looking downfield. Patrick Mahomes is consistently looking downfield, making plays, and Kelce tends to find those spots.
And if we're gonna knock Kelce for having Andy Reid, then we have to keep that consistent and say, okay, well, Gronk had Brady and Belichick.
Right.
And Arians his whole career.
Yeah, name me all the greats that won multiple Super Bowls that didn't have a good situation.
Right.
I mean, that they didn't overcome some terrible odds to be multiple time Super Bowl champs. I mean,
Right.
the Steelers dynasty, the Cowboys dynasty, all those had all-time coaches, all-time situations, all-time defenses. I mean, you name it. That's just how it goes. That's the nature of the beast.
And Omar, I think even Omar would know this, that the reason why Travis Kelce is climbing the ladder so rapidly in all-time greats is because of longevity as well, which, that's what LeBron does. But, we're not talking about that. But the longevity factor about how he's been so great for so long, that's also how he takes care of his body. That's not Andy Reid either. That's Travis Kelce choosing to have integrity with his body.
And to that point, I'm going to say, Omar, I mean, I agree with you to a no shit point, because if Kelce was stuck in Cleveland his whole career, so I'm like, yeah, his numbers probably wouldn't be what they were. And obviously his numbers in the postseason would probably be non-existent.
Right.
Because who knows, would be throwing him the football, of course. But the fact that he's paired up with a great quarterback, and he's also been great before Patrick Mahomes even got here, and before Andy Reid got, well, not before Andy Reid got here, before Andy Reid really developed him and decided to bring him, because he might not even have made the league if it wasn't for Andy Reid, right? So I get those points. There's truth to it, because his numbers probably wouldn't be what they are right now. But the fact that he is who he is, he would have great numbers, I believe, regardless. They just probably wouldn't be to the tier that they are at this point.
Shout out to our guy, Lonnie Pyramid. He said, yo, my guys, hope all is well. Everything's good, Lonnie. Hope everything's well with you, my friend.
Ruben's a little late. Unacceptable.
Unacceptable, Ruben.
Unacceptable.
God
bro.
damn it.
We've been going for 37 minutes now.
Go sit in the corner. 5 minutes, Ruben.
You got to wait till the show's over and go watch it on replay.
Our guy Dustin Orton, he said, shout out to Dustin, he said, moving today, and I appreciate y'all keep me entertained. Moving sucks ass. Ruben, 100% correct. You're
Moving
welcome,
today,
first
too?
of all. Yeah, you're welcome for us being here for you, man, because I know that sucks. Because ask Trevor, the number one thing I hate on this planet is moving. I hate moving. It is the most inconvenient piece of shit thing on this planet, dude. So power to you, brother. Power through it. Hopefully we can help you get through there too. James Kirk's late too. Yeah. What the hell's happening?
I don't know if you saw his comment. He said, "Lance, I heard your Clippers take last Saturday. I can't argue with it. Give us Clippers fans an L, bro." I don't know.
Don't worry, James.
Yeah.
Don't worry, James.
I was early to that.
That's why you're late, huh? You're like, I was hoping to kind of duck it, but no.
Shout out Kawhi's knees.
Ruben's in the. I think he said okay. I think he's in the corner now.
Yeah, dunce cap. We need dunce cap for the ladies.
Our guy Lonnie, I'll go ahead and get this question in before speaking. We'll break the rules here. He says, "Will Travis stand pat on walking out of the door with Big Red?" See, that's an interesting question, because I think that's what Travis would like to do.
Yeah.
But because of the fact that Andy, I believe Andy is going to coach till 2029. I don't think Andy has any intentions of retiring.
Not, man?
Yeah, 2029, Patrick Mahomes will be 34.
Yeah.
I want to say 33, 34. Yeah. So Patrick will still be right outside of his prime years, right outside of it.
Andy has not lost any twinkle in his eye, man.
Yeah.
And winning helps, obviously. Winning consistently helps keep that twinkle in the coach's eye. But Andy Reid still has that youthfulness about him, man.
All right.
You know what I mean? Obviously, physically,
and
he's
his
old.
awesome wife is so supportive of him doing it.
Andy Reid could be a brain in a vat and still calling shots. Man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, dude. This guy, his mind and his brain is still very much in it. Obviously, his body is getting old, and I get that. The frame is looking a little, vulnerable, but
I think
he has it upstairs still.
I think if Travis Kelce, I think that everybody will agree with me here. I think if Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes were the same age, that would be the possibility, where Travis Kelce retires with Andy Reid if 2029 is the final season. Because 34 in tight end years is a lot older than quarterback years. So maybe Travis Kelce's like, hey, I could play a couple more years, but Andy's going out. Patrick is starting to get slowly into his twilight. We've won a ton of Super Bowls. We've had success. I'm making money. Now it's time for me to bow out. I can see that happening. So that's a great question, but I don't think there's any real possibility now that Travis Kelce plays till 2029. We're talking about an additional, that's 6 seasons. 2024, 25, 26, 27, 28,
say
29.
Kelce retires. Say we win a three-peat and Kelce retires. Do you see Kelsey as one of those guys that comes out of retirement and is like, fuck it, I gotta go get another one. Let's go for 4.
You know
Do you
what?
think that's possible?
No.
I think I can see him doing that, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
I know that sounds like a cool thing, but I think the Kelsey brothers are the type of guys that once they've said something or like done something, they're done.
And if they, and I would agree too. If they didn't have so much going on in the, off the field,
Right.
like the podcast is blowing up, they're doing a bunch of live shows and like selling out arenas.
Like
and
their
stuff.
careers are just starting.
Dude,
like
it's
Jason
crazy.
Kelsey's gonna make another like $200 million in his life.
Yeah,
because he's about to be so much more rich.
He's
than he
probably
was
going to be
in
in movies, cameos too. I guarantee you.
Yes.
He's probably I guarantee he's going to be in the booth. I mean, that would be incredible to have Jason Kelsey in the booth, man. I think that dude could be a writer. I think he's going to write multiple books.
Right.
Yeah, I think these guys are going to flourish when their time is done.
Our guy James C. Kirk asked a question. I love listening to Arrowhead Allies on Tuesday evenings. Lance, you seem to have a little butting of heads with B-Shine. What's the difference of options? I think you mean opinions. Different of opinions there. No, so I love Brian. Brian B-Shine and I are boys. I love Brian. Him and I go. I don't say we don't go way back, but I've known Brian for a long time. He's known me for a long time, and we've gotten close since we joined Arrowhead Allies together. He's been with the show for a couple of years now. This is my first year with the show. I have nothing but adamant respect for Brian. I think what it is that him and I see things just a little bit different. We see things from polar opposites. If you notice at the end of the episode this last week, we had Ethan Driscoll on, the Chiefs UDFA offensive tackle. At the end of the show, I complimented Brian on that. I said, you know, we disagree on a lot of things, but what I always do is I always make sure to try to learn something from Brian. Because he's a little bit older than me. I'm not making a joke, but he's a little bit older than me. He's been around a little bit longer. He's been in the limelight a lot longer than me. He's Hot 103 Jams. He's been very successful. He's learned a lot of things from a lot of people. Man, he's got experiences. So even if I disagree with something, I'm still going to hear him out. And yes, in the moment, we've had our back and forth because
and I think too, just to throw a point out there, just from what I've seen and what I've watched of the show, you guys both have similar, very animated personalities. And you both kind of see things differently. So it's going to seem you both have kind of a dominant animated personality. So you both if people don't know you guys personally that well, they're going to seem like, oh, they're kind of going at it. No, that's just
there is zero
antics. That's the animation of you guys.
I promise you, and I guarantee you, Brian will say the same thing. There is zero animosity between us.
That's like if any of you guys in the chat came out and hung out, me and Lance and my brothers, and we're all together and we're going at it. And we have disagreements. You guys think that we're going to start throwing blows?
Dude, for instance, like once the show's over, the first thing I tell Trevor is fuck himself. Like as soon as the show's over, I'm like fuck you, dude, and I walk out the room. So trust me, guys, there's no animosity between Brian and I love that dude. He's a great human being.
Just two animated guys.
Yeah. So I hope that answers the question. That's just two guys that love a team the same way, wanting things to happen the same way. We just see it from a different perspective. And we're trying to find that middle ground. That's it.
Yeah. Do you think Kelsey has any real potential as a Hollywood
actor?
Oh
God, yes.
I mean, did you not see him on SNL?
Oh God, yes, dude, yes.
He's tall, handsome.
Travis has got the chops.
Swift.
He's got the chops. He's got the looks. He's got the charisma, the Riz as the kids call it. He's got. I'm not saying he's going to become the next Leo DiCaprio, but he's going to be a guy that's going to be in some of these, like, remember like when LeBron was in the comedy with John Cena?
Yeah.
What's that movie called? Whatever it was, he has like that 10-minute part.
Trainwreck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He
could get some John Cena roles.
That's what Travis Kelce.
100%.
I think Travis Kelce's gonna be that kind of guy.
He can get a Ricky
he gets like he's a
movie.
supporting role. He in some comedies and things like that.
I think a lot of not sitcoms, but like TV series, like like Dave, like Little Dicky show, like stuff that have like famous cameos and stuff. Yeah, I think Travis Kelce is gonna be all.
I think he's gonna have a catalog.
Yeah.
Of a lot of like supporting roles. One episode and like this big series, like an up and coming series we don't even know yet.
Yeah,
he'll be like a
he's
full
gonna
episode guy.
He's gonna be a pop up host for some game shows probably too, like D-Wade does.
Yes,
for sure, dude. These athletes get a lot of potential, especially dude. He's dating Taylor Swift. He's probably gonna marry Taylor Swift.
Right.
If anybody has connections, Taylor has a finger in a toe in the water of every little. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's he's gonna have opportunities out the ass, but he's gonna have to fight off offers, honestly. So yes, I think he's got not only potential individually, but he's going to have opportunities everywhere.
If anybody else is late to the chat and wants to tell us, you please do that, and I'll let you guys know that you have to tell 500 people about our show this week, or you're grounded.
John Harrison says, name a person on the Allies that doesn't have an animated personality.
That's a good point, John.
Exactly, dude. That's kind of...
I was waiting for John. Good to see you, John. So we got about 15 minutes till our guy Mike gets here. I wanted to bring up another topic because I want to bring it up to Mike as well, and kind of expand on it and get Mike's thoughts. But you guys get our thoughts on this real quick. Trevor, I don't know what it is. I talked about it a little bit last night. maybe it's just the way I word things, or I don't know. I very much intentionally try to word things in a certain way so people can understand what I'm saying the first time. But I'm having trouble here because I feel like a lot of people that when I tweet things out or I post things on our group page, a lot of times what the point I'm trying to get across gets lost, kind of in the matrix. It's really hard to understand. But I made this tweet, and if we could post it up there real quick, Trevor, the Rashee Rice one. I wanted to talk about him a little bit today because, guys, it's a foregone conclusion that at some point the Chiefs are going to be without Rashee Rice, and it's probably going to be for a substantial amount of time. I don't know the exact number, but just from everything we've been hearing from James Palmer, guy that's been very well connected with the Chiefs over the last half decade and some change, he made it sound like it might be at least half the season. Now, maybe it won't be, or maybe it will be. The fact is, I put this tweet out here, guys, intentionally. I put out there that Rashee Rice is 6'2", 203 pounds. The other top 6 wide receivers on the Chiefs roster, which is Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and Nico Remigio, average size of 5'11", 189 pounds. Not a single player under 6 foot tall and under 190 pounds finished in the top 25 in receiving yards last season. This is according to Pro Football Reference, guys. So go look this up yourself if you want to. Don't take it up with me because everybody was posting Tyreek Hill. According to Pro Football Reference, Tyreek Hill is 5'10", which is shorter than 5'11", but he weighs more than 189 pounds. I said both have to be together. That's beside the point. For some weird reason, this became an Xavier Worthy attack tweet. I don't know how. And I think it's just by association with the fact that I've expressed my concerns about Xavier Worthy's size and whether he was the right guy for the Chiefs to go and take, let alone trade up for in the first round. I don't know. But I intentionally started it by addressing Rashee Rice's size because that's what the tweet was about. I was trying to talk about Rashee Rice and the absence of him being in this offense and how it's going to look.
We need a guy that size.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we talk about it all the time, guys, about how Brett Veach has this obsession with small, speedy receivers. The one receiver to this point that he's drafted that actually has panned out happens to be the biggest receiver he's drafted. So that's the point I'm trying to make, guys, is that we saw, a lot of you have been telling me for well over a year now that Rashee Rice is the wide receiver one. And what have I been saying, Trevor? I think he's a high-end wide receiver too. But you guys are even higher on him than I am. So when I bring up the fact that not having him for potentially half a season is going to be a problem, you guys are mad at me? And that's what's funny about this. I'm trying to address the fact that even if Xavier Worthy becomes a guy, you're asking another rookie, and this time a rookie that's 40 pounds lighter and about 3.5 inches shorter, to be a guy quicker than what Rashee Rice was last season when it took him a two plus months to finally become a guy, and it was basically them throwing him shallow crossers and getting yak yards. Yeah. He didn't even develop a route tree at that point. So this is what I'm worried about. Everyone thinks it's a negative thing. No, I'm just sitting here addressing the fact that it feels very much like we're a Hollywood Brown injury away from being right where they were last season, where you're relying on a mid-30s tight end and a bunch of nobodies. And I hate to say that, but Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore they should not be on this roster. And I will say that to their faces if they were here.
Well, it's similar to when Sammy Watkins was dominating for a minute there, and then he ended up getting hurt. And we had to depend on the young McCole Hardmans of the, to step up and be the guy. And that was tough.
And this is why everyone's like, why were you so obsessed with OBJ? It wasn't just OBJ. For one, OBJ was the most sure-handed free agent receiver in the league out there that was just sitting there. And that's what the Chiefs struggled with the most, was catching the ball. OBJ's never had a problem with catching the ball in his career, which is why I wanted him on this team. He can run the X slants. You guys heard Daniel Harms on our show just a few weeks ago break this very thing down when he said that's the kind of guy you want on this team as a veteran that brings in that presence, that veteran presence, the experience. That's the kind of guy I wanted on this team. And you just saw the Dolphins get OBJ for $3.5 million.
Yeah.
So whether you guys agree with me on the player or not, the fact is this team does need a little bit more in the room. And it's primarily because of the fact they're going to be losing Rashee Rice at some point. And if you guys think he's the best receiver on the team, how is that not a big hit on the team? Literally, because he's the most physically gifted receiver on the team. Hollywood Brown is my height. I am 5'9", guys. Hollywood Brown is 5'9", about 170 pounds. Xavier Worthy is about 5'11", 170 pounds. Those are two very little receivers. Sky Moore, 5'11", 190-ish pounds. Kadarius Toney, 6 foot, about 185. Nico Remigio, about 5'11", 190 pounds. These are little dudes. These are not big receivers. Why do you think we heard the rumors this week that Brett Veach was in talks to try to trade for DK Metcalf? It wasn't just to replace the mistake he made 5 years ago and drafting McCole Hardman instead of DK. It's because he gets it.
Brendan Rice would have been nice.
Trevor, go look at the slides on the overlays, man. Go look at the wide receiver one list that I made a week ago. We're gonna bring this up with Mike as well. Put that on the screen when you get a chance.
Notable wide receiver ones.
Yes. Look at these names, guys. These are the best receivers in the NFL, and coincidentally, look at their sizes. The only one that's the exception to the rule of that entire list, and by the way, the list is longer, the screen just cuts it off. The only one that's notable that's the exception to the rule is Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, but
so,
he's a outlier.
Yeah, exactly. So unless you guys, because everyone was trying to tell me, well, Tyreek Hill did it. Guys, no. Tyreek Hill is heavier than 189 pounds, first of all.
Yeah,
but even if he was 180 pounds, he's the exception to the rule.
When he benefited off of being an Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes offense, you know what I mean?
So this is the point. If you look, there's no coincidence, guys, that the best receivers in the NFL are all big, physical receivers.
Yep.
It's no coincidence. Jerry Rice, 6'2", 6'3". Randy Moss, 6'4".
Yeah,
Calvin
the further
Johnson,
you go back, the more that's even more true.
Calvin Johnson, 6'3".
Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald, 6'2". List all the best receivers of all time. The majority of them are 6 foot and taller, around 200 pounds. So this is what I've been trying to ask the Chiefs to do, both veteran and in the draft. That's why I like them. Go back to our show a year ago. When they drafted Rashee Rice, I wasn't against the pick. I was like, I like this pick.
Yeah.
Big physical receiver out of SMU. Looks like a guy that could become a guy. I said he's more of a 2024 guy. I'll stand by that. I didn't think he was going to become something like this in 2023.
Well, as we shouldn't. Yeah.
But the point was, he was able to use his physicality because you don't catch shallow crossers and get yak yards like that unless you're able to withstand getting hit. And that's what Rashee Rice was able to do. He'd take hits. He's big. So not having him in this offense, guys, is a worry. So if you guys want to throw in the chat, man, let me know first of all, if I made myself clear, and two, if you guys agree with this, that they're going to have to get really creative with the offense for the time that Rashee's going to be gone, because to this point, they haven't signed that other veteran that could take some of that pressure off Travis Kelce. I'm not saying they're going to go and find another 6'2", 200-pound receiver, because OBJ clearly isn't that. But if you can find another guy that's sure-handed, a guy that can catch every pass that comes his way, that takes some of that pressure off.
John Harrison says, Tyler Lockett is a good receiver opposite Metcalf. He's 5'10", 182. You answered your own point here, though, John. Opposite DK Metcalf. He's only put up really big numbers typically when him and DK Metcalf are a tandem.
Sure, what did I say last week?
And Tyler Lockett, I'm not taking anything away from Tyler Lockett. He's legitimately really good, but he's also a very streaky receiver. He has big weeks, big blow-up weeks, or a couple weeks in a row, and then he's like non-existent for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
He's not a guy that's consistently putting up big-time numbers.
Well, and
he's hurt a lot,
to that point, Tyler Lockett wasn't in the top 25
and he's
receiving.
hurt a lot, too, because of his size, most likely.
And he wasn't in the top 25 in receiving.
Right.
Neither was Devontae Smith, who everyone wants to compare Xavier Worthy to.
And he's on the same team that Brett Veach was reaching out to, but Brett Veach was reaching out for DK Metcalf, not Tyler Lockett.
And again, when it comes to the Eagles, who's the best receiver on that team?
Well, yeah. Who did they brought the alpha over, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, guys. So even with Xavier Worthy, you trade up for him in the first round. You're like Trevor and I said, you better expect him to be a wide receiver one. You better, because that's a lot of value you're putting on him, especially when you didn't take another receiver in the draft.
James T. Kirk says smaller receivers are more explosive.
Downfield bomb passes?
Just because they're smaller, more compact. They can be a little faster and more aerodynamic. Yeah, sure. But more aerodynamic when I fight. They can definitely be that, but that doesn't make but they're also way more vulnerable. You know what I mean? They're more vulnerable when it comes to injuries and taking big hits and being, more dense when it comes to their body composition. That's a whole other thing. And it is true, though. It is true. I mean, the facts don't lie, man. They are what they are.
Trevor, who would you rather have, Rashee Rice or Tank Dell?
Oof. They both had great rookie seasons. Man. Rashee Rice.
Okay, why?
Yeah, because Rashee Rice, for one, he seems more durable. He's better after the catch. He's more of a dynamic guy, and he happens to be bigger. He's dynamic and more explosive than Tank. Tank's an incredible route runner, very great nose for the end zone, and is part of a great system, but he also plays along a true alpha wide receiver one in Nico Collins, who's the big, dominant receiver over there. Tank Dell probably had the better overall numbers this past year because he was honestly the favorite target and was just getting flooded with targets when he was healthy, but I'm taking Rashee just because I think he's the better player. I think he's more dynamic after the catch. I think he's a bigger, stronger receiver.
Who would you rather have, Trevor? Deshaun Jackson or Mike Evans?
Mike Evans. Not even close. It's not even close. Mike Evans,
I keep listing them
speed
off.
is close to
Yes.
it. You know what I mean? It's not far off.
You get the comparisons I'm making here?
Yeah.
I'm comparing smaller.
No, I'm with you, bro.
Smaller yes, Deshaun Jackson, Tank Dell, Xavier Worthy, they're all explosive players.
Yeah.
I'm not debating that.
Tyler Lockett.
But if you had your pick between one of those guys or a dude who's 6'1" to 6'5", 195 to 225 pounds, which one you taking?
Well, this isn't just, let me just reiterate to the chat, Lance isn't just making a point about these guys could get hurt. It's not just that. It's these guys being consistently dominant in the league and putting up big-time numbers. The guys that are that small and that light don't typically do that. For reasons of injury, obviously that plays its part, but just overall production and getting bullied by bigger corners and things like that, and safeties.
Right.
They can get bullied and boxed in. Bigger receivers can dominate. Guys like DeAndre Hopkins can go up and get those 50-50 balls. All these smaller guys, lighter guys can get pushed around and bullied around. Not necessarily injured, but they can get bullied by bigger DBs. That can happen too. It's a combination of things.
You wouldn't be able to, if you took last season and removed Rashee Rice out and put Xavier Worthy in, you would not have been able to run the offense the same way. You would not have been able to have Xavier Worthy just running shallow crossers and just having him try to run through the defense. It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. You'd have had to use a ton of bubble screens, bunch of motions. Andy would have had to have gotten gimmicky beyond belief. And this would have been by far maybe the smallest receiving room in the entire NFL.
Okay, James C. Kirk. Trevor, stop. Jamar Chase got hurt, and so did T. Higgins. Injuries happen. Tank got hurt on a blocking play. Correct. I'm not saying that bigger receivers are exempt from injuries. That's not the point here. What I'm saying is, on a more likely basis, on a balance of probabilities, the smaller and lighter you are in the NFL, your chances of getting hurt are way higher. We have a massive sample size. Why do you think none of those light, small guys have the numbers that Lance just showed you to all the guys that are bigger and stronger and taller? Why do you think that is? Because they're able to withstand certain things. And you don't think any of these taller, bigger receivers, all these wide receiver ones, the Justin Jeffersons, all these guys, you don't think they're getting the majority of the reps, the majority of the snaps, the majority of the targets and the volume in these offenses? They're getting way more work than these smaller guys. These smaller guys are getting less work, and they're getting hurt more frequently.
And the guys, when it came to the parameters I set, maybe you thought it was a narrative I was creating. No, I was based upon the numbers. The guy that finished 27th in receiving yards last season that met the quota of the 5'10" or below and the 185 pounds and below was Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
And what happened to him last season? He got hurt.
He gets hurt every season.
It's the point I'm trying to make, man. So again, you guys can take this how you want, but the point remains.
Yeah.
Losing Rashee Rice is one of the most devastating things that can happen to the Chiefs' offense this season.
You're not lying, dude.
Because of the physical traits he brings to the offense. He changed the offense because he was one of the biggest reasons the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year because he was the only receiver they could rely on. He was the only guy that could make anything happen before he even knew the playbook. They're like, all right, man, you're big as shit. Run a 2-yard dig route, and we're just toss the ball to you. Just run. That's what you're going to do.
And
it worked.
And this isn't saying that Xavier Worthy can't become a dominant player.
Of course not.
Of course he can become that. We created that out of Tyreek Hill when no one else thought that he would become that. But Tyreek Hill obviously is extremely durable. Is just a muscle hamster, a guy that has a neck wider than his own head. So I mean, he's kind of an outlier, if we're all being honest. The Deshaun Jacksons, he can work in spurts, but he also gets banged up a lot because he's small, he's lighter. The Percy Harvins, all these guys tend to get banged up. Could Xavier Worthy put on a little bit of size, slow down a little bit, and we can trade off some of that speed for some more durable muscle? Hell yeah, I'm all about that. But at the same time, he got drafted for his speed. Sometimes those guys, and plus, I think a lot of it comes too of the game plan of coaches not trusting them and putting them in harm's way a lot more than they should. So they kind of take a little bit off of their plate, which makes it easier for Rashee Rice to kind of go in there and get some of that dirty work and the crossers over the middle and take some of those bigger hits and create more plays after the catch. Xavier Worthy's more of a field stretch, and they're already talking about him being a kick returner and things like that too. So
and we got.
I'm all for him, man. I hope he succeeds.
Our guy Ruben says, Worthy has a route tree.
Absolutely does.
That's fine.
He's nasty,
and I hope it translates to the NFL level. But we have to remember something because you guys got upset with me when I made the Kingsley Suamataia comparison between him and Wanya Morris last season by using college numbers. Guys, you're talking about Worthy going up against professional DBs now. So even if his route tree is there, he's going to have to be even better at what he does at the pro level against better competition, and he's going to have that time, which means what? If Rashee Rice is out for an extended period of time, guys, you better believe the focus is going to be on, let's make sure we hit Travis Kelce at the line. He's older now, so maybe he'll be a little slower. And the speedster guys, let's make sure that we play that cover 2, cover 3, which the NFL almost plays exclusively now. So especially against teams that have burners like the Chiefs do. They don't just let guys run over the top anymore. That's not how it goes in the NFL anymore, guys. So it's going to have to be a lot more crafty. It's going to have to translate. It's going to have to translate quick if they're expecting him to become something in the NFL immediately. I want to see Xavier Worthy be able to work his way into the NFL. I don't want to have to see him get pressure immediately. I want to see him work his way where he's the wide receiver 4 for the first season. And then in year 2, becomes wide receiver 2 or 1. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah,
but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. That's going to be the possibility.
NFL, the speed of the game in the NFL, the hits in the NFL. You're playing the best of the best athletes in the entire world, man, and it comes at you fast. Some of these guys, you know, what I mean, I think Xavier Worthy could definitely thrive in this offense, absolutely, because I think situation matters. But the numbers, again, we can go back to that board and the numbers you show for all the receivers that thrive and all the top receivers and their heights and their weights. That matters too, man. That's a sample size that is pretty relevant to this conversation, and it matters. Could there be outliers? I absolutely think so, and I think Andy Reid is one of those guys that can create outliers with his complex offense. But I'm not expecting Xavier Worthy, outside of his just purely athletic abilities, God-given abilities, to shine in year 1. If I'm being honest, granted, he was drafted to be the guy. You move up in the first round to draft somebody, he better be wide receiver 1. Goddammit.
Yeah.
So. Could he shine year 1? Absolutely, just because of his dominant athletic gifts. But I'm very hesitant to lean into wide receivers drafted by Andy Reid year 1.
Right.
So.
And I saw our guy Omar say that he would take AB over Evans all day. And AB's prime, I would agree.
Yeah.
But here's the difference, and this goes right back into my point.
But their numbers aren't that far off.
Who has a much longer career of greatness?
Yeah.
Mike Evans has never had a season where he didn't have 1,000 yards, and this is what, his 11th season?
Yeah, and he didn't always have Tom Brady throwing the ball either.
AB had 6 consecutive seasons with 1,000 yards, and he was dominating.
Oh, yeah.
But by the time he turned 30, his career dropped off the map. Because why? He was an undersized receiver that started getting hit hard, and that's the thing we have to remember here, guys. Maybe we'll get a little backup here, Trevor. I don't know. We'll see what this guy has to say here. All I know is I'm glad he's here because he's one of the most knowledgeable dudes I know. And whenever we get an opportunity to get him on the show, we take it because why the hell not, man? Because it was always a fun time to talk with him. One of our best pals in the Chiefs community, a guy that you should know and should be following by now. They do the same thing we do here. They didn't copy us by any means. It just happened to be we're all brothers. They have a brother show. We have a brother show. And we always appreciate when we get a chance to get him on the show. From the All Chiefed Up podcast, let's give it up for the one, the only, Mike Williams. What's up, Mikey?
What's up, man?
Brother, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Last time
What's
we were
going
on,
on,
we
man?
had some audio issues when you come on our show last time. So
No more audio issues, dude.
Those damn dogs.
making sure we're good. I'm going to turn my mic up a little bit. I know people complain about that. So
I watched your guys' last episode. You were really low, bro.
Yeah, we need that velvety, sexy voice in here, man.
There it is.
We record and we use StreamYard. Of course, you guys do too. Our audio, if it's live, we have to crank, bro. And then if we record a regular video, we got to turn it down. So we'll record and do a bunch of work, and then I'll forget to turn the knob. And then nobody reminds me. What's Steve good for if he's not reminding me for crap like that, you know?
You can't forget the knobs. You can't forget your plums.
I know.
I feel it. Feel it, plums. So, buddy, we got some things to talk about, dude. And I know you're probably burnt out beyond belief when it comes to the draft because you've been doing this all year. You and your brother just been dropping episodes left and right. You guys have had so much talk. So, of course, you're ready to talk today about the draft. You know, I know you're excited, dude. So
love the draft.
Not to say it. But, you know, and I'm sure you've seen some of my takes here, man. I'll just kind of catch you up real quick before I get your reaction on things. You knew that I wasn't a guy that wanted a wide receiver in the first round. You knew that I wanted to see them go after a tackle, but I was with you guys initially when you said trade out of the first round, collect some picks, go and take Kingsley in the second round if he falls. Well, that's exactly what happened, but the Chiefs did it in a little bit of a different way where they actually leaned into the wide receiver class and went and got a guy they clearly were big on in Xavier Worthy, trading up 4 spots with the Bills, which no one first saw. I saw your guys' takes on these things. I know the initial take from Steve, he was pissed. You were kind of just accepting it for what it is, and then you guys did your breakdown. And something you and I, and Trevor, we can put our grade up there real quick, the grades that we had for these. Not that it matters to anybody else, but we just for the conversation's sake. Trevor had it as a B for Xavier Worthy. I had it as a C only because of the fact that I wasn't big on Xavier Worthy. I felt that once he breaking John Ross's 40-yard dash record, that all of a sudden every Chiefs fan started mocking him to Kansas City. That's what put him on the map. Not that that's what he's only good at. He's a good route runner, good hands, all that. but I felt like that was the reason that the bandwagon started to fill up. And I was worried about that. I didn't feel like he was a guy they needed to trade up for.
It was a hype pick.
Yeah, you pass up on all these other receivers in this draft that I think are bigger, physical, more gifted players. You didn't get any of them. You went and traded up for this guy. It is kind of a worry of mine. That's why I'm holding it out right now to see. So I got to get your thoughts, man, because I know you also were somebody out that wasn't afraid to say, hey, look, I mocked him to like John Ross. And I felt the same way. I see similar things that hopefully he's much better than John Ross, who, by the way, just unretired. But I am a little worried about undersized receivers in this league, man, and you're trying to make them into wide receiver ones. It doesn't happen very often. The majority of the best receivers are 6 foot tall and up, 195 pounds and up. I have my concerns here. What are your? I know you're going to look at this from an optimistic standpoint, Mike, but where are you at right now with Xavier Worthy? Are you expecting him to develop quick, develop slow? You know, with the Rashee Rice shit going down, we'll talk about in a second. Like, is the pressure going to be on him to be a guy immediately? Like, how's this going to go, man?
Yeah, you said it pretty well. I didn't think that John Ross, I've called him John Ross now. I didn't think that Xavier Worthy was a first-round pick, in my opinion. But I will say this. I went through, and he was the first or second guy. I think he was the second guy. Actually did Tez Walker out of UNC. He was the first guy I graded at wide receiver, and then Xavier Worthy was number 2. So granted, after I looked at Xavier Worthy, I never went back and watched film of him because you can't do it. I had 60 wide receivers to look at. And so I looked at 58 wide receivers after Xavier Worthy. And I think for me, he just kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit for me because, like you said, the first thing you notice on film is his speed. Okay, and then when he goes to the combine, he goes 4.2, and he's getting down to 160 to do it. You're like, well, I've already graded him high on speed. I've seen that. I can't double grade him for speed. Like, I knew he was fast. Congrats, you showed up and you were fast. I wanted to see other things. But at his pro day, he looked good. He caught everything thrown his way, and I get it. Pro days are scripted and they're easy, but he does have pretty good hands. Me and Steve hates every pick initially. We even had a meltdown when we took Jared Wiley. He's banging his head again, and I'm just like, dude, I got to get off here for a minute. Like, I just can't take it. So Xavier Worthy for me was a very polarizing thing. Like, I didn't think he was worth a first-round pick, but the Chiefs took him, and to be honest, didn't we all know it was going to happen? Brett Veach has got a type. You know, we might like blondes, brunettes with curly hair and long legs. He likes 6 foot wide receivers that weigh 110 pounds. That's his thing. That's what he does. Like, we made the joke. He was cruising around in Miami during the draft trying to pick up these 6 foot tall, 150 pound studs. That's what he's doing. He's got the top down. He's chilling. He's horned up. He's trying to get it going, but I'm not going to knock Xavier Worthy. I want to see him on the field because a lot of people said the same thing about Tyreek Hill too. He's small. He can't do it. He comes from a small school. Well, Xavier Worthy didn't come from a small school. He came from the Big 12 where he actually produced. Even as a freshman, they were getting him the ball. In just 2023, in just this year, he played Alabama. He went up against Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terry and Arnold. He put up 5 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Not too shabby. He went up against TCU, went up against Josh Newton, and put up 10 receptions for 137 yards. Josh Newton's one of the best, man-to-man, beat-you-to-death corners in the world. Iowa State, not in the world, in the NCAA world, Iowa State, TJ Tampa, went up against him. 4 catches, 77 yards. So I do think he can do it. I think he can do it. It's just one of those things where at the NFL level, these guys are bigger, faster, stronger, and they will match him a little bit, and they will hit him a little bit. But I want to see his grit and determination and how he gets through it because people have gotten through it. I know Andy said something about Deshaun Jackson. He's getting comped to Tyreek Hill. He's getting comped to this, John Ross. I heard John Ross is making a comeback, so you never know.
Yeah. Philadelphia, baby.
Who goes from retired to comeback in one season after quitting after 3 days of camp?
And it's crazy, is I think John's only like 28 years old.
He's
right.
So he could have another few years of his career.
He may have been better, though, if you put him in a better situation. Could you imagine John Ross getting drafted to Andy Reid straight up and not having to deal with injuries his entire career?
Yeah, look at his last year in Washington. He had 17 touchdowns.
Right. Andy
he was a baller.
Dude, Brett Veach would have been all over that pick. We'd have traded up for that guy. So,
dude, I trapped so many people, and I felt bad, but I had to do it. I posted the profile grades on our show of the draft. I said, hey, so we're talking about Xavier Worthy. Let's look at these draft grades. He's got a 6.70 draft grade according to NFL.com at Lance Zierlein, and he's got comps to Deshaun Jackson. He's got these great breakaway speed, good route runner. Oh shit, that's not Xavier Worthy. That's John Ross. So I was showing people that he was actually a higher draft, or people were higher on him than they were Xavier Worthy. He was the 9th overall pick before Patrick Mahomes. So this is why I was saying let's keep a level head here, guys. I know we all want Xavier Worthy to pan out, including me. I really am rooting for the kid, but I'm also prepared for the fact that he might be more of the same when it comes to some of these undersized speedsters, man, because we've seen a lot of them not pan out, and that's what I'm worried about. But what I'm not worried about here is the guy that and I'll give you credit first, you sold me on 𝙂𝙷𝙸𝙃𝙸𝙃.
Oh, yeah.
You sold me on, and I finally started saying his name correctly, by the way. And Trevor, one of Trevor's good friends, is actually his cousin. So we got this whole cool thing going around, man, where we're starting to meet the family unofficially. But Kingsley is the guy, man, and I wanted him all along. You sold me on him. I immediately started watching film on him. I'm a big fan of him. And if we could, Trevor, let's throw up the Jeff Schwartz tweet real quick of what he said. I don't know if you saw this or not, Mike.
Gotcha.
But Jeff Schwartz had a review of Kingsley, and he said, lots of y'all asked, so I had the time now. Just watch more of Kingsley 𝙂𝙸𝙸𝙃. BYU's offensive scheme doesn't have a great picture for how he translates in the NFL. He's highly athletic and strong when technique is there in the run game. Pass pro is smooth in feet and active hands. He understands his goal in the rep, but there's hardly any one-on-one third down pass rush opportunities on the film. Needs to work on hand placement in the run game. Hands outside the framework too often. He will lose power. Leans a tad too much on second level. I think the part of that fix for these issues will be his stance and start. Biggest point of this tweet that I love. Overall, he's got the traits to be very good, and start immediately will be up to Heck and staff to get him ready. If that doesn't get you horned up, Mikey, I don't know what does.
Partial chub over here.
I mean, it moved a little when I read that. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
so
we seen that.
Yeah.
Me and Steve went and watched film. We did our first ever Chiefs mock draft, and we'll do some separately, but when we put our heads together, we talk it out, we put ourselves in the situation. We'll actually go through and we'll draft the entire first round as if we were the GM for every team, and that puts us on the board at that spot. And the first time we ever did it, we got to the Chiefs pick at 32, and we said, look, we need a left tackle. We think left tackle is a big need right here, right? We said it's left tackle, it's wide receiver, and we was not sold on Xavier Worthy at the time being a first round pick. Still not, but, we'll digress.
Right.
Kingsley was the guy. It was between him and it was between Patrick Paul. And admittedly, I liked Patrick Paul too. I think Patrick Paul was a better fit left tackle instantly.
Yeah.
But the thing is Kingsley's got the bigger ceiling. He really does. He's got that Mauler gene in him. He's from BYU. That gets Andy horned up, okay? And if you get the Mormon BYU crowd horned up, you might have 47 offspring in about 10 minutes. So
give him the Mormon missile.
You got to get it going. That's what I'm saying. Give him that Mormon missile, baby. He'll be getting nuggies all day.
3,
the thing
2,
about
1,
it is,
take off.
yeah, when he's seen Kingsley, we come up with that same stuff. I'll read you exactly what my blurb was of Kingsley. It's not really a blurb, but it was the pros, cons. I said that his weaknesses, and I'll start with his weaknesses first, is that he has a fairly average contact balance at his point of attack. He tends to bend too much. He has average slide quickness. He oversets. He is very heavy-footed. If he gets beaten on his initial move. That sounds exactly what he just said in that one, okay? But his strengths was that he's very thick, he's got good size, he's very quick at getting out in the run game to the second level, he's very lateral quickness, outside zone oriented. That's everything we've seen. So if he's a pull tackle, which we like to do a lot in the outside zone game, that run game, he was perfect. And we were like, why is nobody talking about Kingsley 𝙂𝙸𝙸𝙃? It was crazy. And I think one of the reasons is because they didn't know how to pronounce his name properly. So they just overlooked him. But yeah, the dude played 1,342 snaps, left tackle, right tackle. So we know he's versatile. And out of all of those snaps, 2 sacks, 8 hits, and 14 hurries. That is insane. And when you compare that to just Joe Alt, which I've did countless times and you've seen it, his numbers are stacked right there with him. And I get it. Notre Dame probably plays a much tougher schedule than BYU, but it's the upside you're looking at there. Yeah, it's the upside, in my opinion.
Well, in the Big 12, Kingsley playing in the Big 12, a lot of air raid offenses. So he's getting plenty of opportunities to give up sacks, and he still didn't. So to his credit, he played a lot of snaps, and a lot of those were protecting the quarterback, and he wasn't giving up sacks. That's the point here, at both positions. Now, I don't want to have to sit here and make you break down every single draft pick.
Right.
But, the 𝙲𝙷𝙸𝙀 draft pick, I understood why the Chiefs did it, and you and I talked about this. I talked to Daniel Harms about it, about how I wanted to see the Chiefs go after a tight end in the first 4 picks. That's exactly what they did. I like the pick. I didn't honestly do a lot of study on 𝙲𝙷𝙀 because I didn't really pay attention to him, kind of like you said about Xavier Worthy. You kind of looked at him early and kept moving on because there was a lot of other guys to look at.
Yeah.
I was looking at, Cade Stover. I was looking at Ben Sinnott. I was looking at some other guys, and it felt like 𝙲𝙷𝙀 just kind of fell to the Chiefs here. Because he sounds like a guy that the Chiefs were high on all along, even though they oddly enough, didn't have a visit with him. It does sound like a guy that checks a lot of boxes for what the Chiefs are looking for as a tight end. We know you're never replacing Travis Kelce, but if you can replace some of what Travis Kelce is, I feel like that's an absolute hit, especially in the 4th round. Your quick thoughts on 𝙲𝙷𝙀 here?
Look, the Chiefs love 𝙲𝙷𝙀. I think the thing about it is he's that tight end that he shows the athleticism. He was a college quarterback. Travis Kelce, college quarterback. He took over a Texas offense. Do you know how hard that is in high school football to play quarterback at a Texas offense and throw for 2,300 yards, 27 touchdowns, and lead an offense that had 40.5 points per game? Like, this is what this guy did.
Guy.
And this is after he was already recruited to Texas to play tight end. And he did this because his team needed a quarterback. And he stepped in there and did it. So he's that kind of guy. He was down in Texas working with Kelce and Mahomes before the draft even started. People don't even know that one. I think Charles Goldman actually released an article about that one. There's so many things to like about 𝙲𝙷𝙀. And like you said, he kind of got shoved under the rug just a tad bit. And I'll tell you why. Because the Chiefs done a good job of acting not interested in 𝙲𝙷𝙀 at all. They actually spoke to Ben Sinnott. They spoke to Jatavion Sanders. They spoke to Theo Johnson. They had interviews with Eric All. They were talking to every one of these guys. Conveniently, the only guy they don't look at is the guy that they're intrigued by. Brett Veach doing Brett Veach things. But I'm going to tell you, 𝙲𝙷𝙀, I like the pick. I'm not going to say he's baby Kelce. I'm not putting that stigma on him. I hate it. It just sets you up for failure. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. The dude is going to be a tight end 3, possibly a tight end 4. He's going to be used in certain sub packages. I think he's going to be used kind of like Jody Fortson, hopefully with less injuries. And look, Jody was effective at doing things like going down the seam and being good in the red zone. I think Jared does that, and I think Travis Kelce actually will take it upon himself for the next 2 years that he's in this league to take him under his wing, just like he did Noah Gray, and try to leave the tight end position in good hands for Patrick when he retires. And I think he's going to be able to do it. And by the way, he was a monster at the Senior Bowl. And if one thing you want to look at Chiefs draft picks, they love drafting from who they see at the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl. Like, those are early and often. All these guys that pick up steam late in April, right before the draft, it goes one in and out the other. The Chiefs don't look at it. I think they've already set on half their picks by the time they get after they evaluate the Senior Bowl. In my opinion, I think that's the way they roll.
I think maybe the steal of the draft, and I don't mean the Chiefs draft class, I mean potentially the entire draft.
Yeah.
Is Jaden Hicks. I mean,
that was
he
a
had
steal,
a second round grade?
Yeah.
And he fell to the 4th? Some people said this is the best safety of the class.
Yeah, true value. We had him as number 4, and the only reason we put him at 4 is because a lot of these safeties was just like throwing darts. You had Tyler Nubin at number 1, and to be honest, he had tons of limitations. He was a little slow, but he was a ball hawk. He created turnovers. That's what you want a safety to do. We had Cole Bishop come up the board because why? At the Senior Bowl, he killed it, and there were several scouts saying this guy's not going to get out of the second round. I don't think he did. I think he went to Buffalo in round 2, right?
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm not for sure. But then we had Javon Bullard from Georgia. And we had Jaden Hicks tied at 3. And I went ahead and put Bullard over Hicks, not because I liked him better, but because he was having more draft steam. His stock was rising more, so I put him at, and he's out of Georgia. Come on, Georgia over Washington State. People's taking the SEC school every time.
Sure.
But at 6'2", 211, we loved Jaden Hicks. I put him into my metrics that I pump in, and out of 5 categories, he scored elite in 4 of them, and he was almost elite in the 10-yard split out of 158. And to be honest, I didn't get to see his pro day. He could have got the 158 down, and I don't even know. So Brett Veach loves athletes. You got to have a guy that can sky. He is 6'2". Like, he will come down and he will hit you at 211. Now, his only problem is he misses a lot of tackles. He's got like a 12, 13% missed tackle rate. But listen to this one. 103 slot, I'll get it out in a second, slot snaps. So he come down, 103 times. 456 of those snaps were in the box. He was run supporting in the box. Who does that sound like? Justin Reed. That's what he does. I think that in the 4th round, he fell into their lap and they said, hey, Justin Reed's in a contract situation. Let's put some younger guys in the DB room and see what happens. Let's see if he can figure it out, see if we can save some money here in the next few years. I think Brett Veach is always doing that kind of stuff, but I'm with you. I do think he was probably one of the best value steals in the entire draft for any team.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the Chiefs taking a safety in the draft. When they took him, and I did some quick studying on, I saw what you guys were saying about him. Like, I'm glad they made this pick. Like, this is obviously a dude you just couldn't pass on. So I gave it an A without question. Trevor, I gave it a B or B plus, something like that. So we both liked it a lot. The other pick I want to get to before we get to some other topics here real quick with you Mike, is Kamal Hayden, or Haddon. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, Kamal Haddon.
Kamal Haddon. Looks like he looks like that special, typical 7th round pick, day 3 pick that Brett Veach gets that's going to be a hit. He looks like that guy. He looks like a guy that's going to make this team. I know the metrics. I've heard about him. I know he has small arms for the frame that he has, but he seems like a guy that's really hard to throw against or throw at. But I had a differing opinion on this one. And it's not because I don't think the kid's going to make it, because I actually think he's going to be a good player. It's the fact, though, that I think the room now is so filled, so stacked at defensive back, that it almost is like defeating the purpose of continuously drafting guys there when all these guys are still on rookie deals right now. Where I felt there were other positions that, even though it's late in the draft, you can throw a dart at a potential need. Like, I felt that edge rush was something they could go after. Felt like defensive tackle was something they could go after. Felt like, another wide receiver, Taj Washington, guys like that were still there. Now, maybe other people feel different about that, and cornerback's something that Brett Veach is so good at drafting doesn't matter. For me, though, the risk of just trading up for Xavier Worthy, not taking another receiver, and potentially the deepest wide receiver draft class ever, is such a risk for me that I would have loved to see him go after Brendan Rice late in the draft or somebody like that, just to throw into the room and add competition, because as it stands, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore almost have like safe landing spots on this roster, and that's frustrating to me because those guys to me are useless on this offense. So, and I know you defend Sky Moore, and that's fine, but my point is there's no competition for those guys, whereas the cornerback room has 8-9 guys that they're going to fight over, and may the best man win. That's great, but that's a lot of competition for one area, whereas in other areas, there is no competition. I have a problem with that. So although I like Kamal Haddon, I think he's a good player, he's going to be a hit, I don't know why they went cornerback. Does that make sense, Mike, or am I just really in the dark here?
No, I understand it because the DB room is deep. I fully understand that. That's why everybody that said, hey, we had to keep Snead, I didn't think we necessarily had to keep Snead. Would I have liked to? Yeah, it would have been great. But you can't keep every single player. Like, you just can't do that. That's the way the NFL's designed. You have a salary cap, and that's what makes it great. You don't have baseball teams like the Dodgers buying up the entire league. Like, this makes it fun. You go draft and develop your own guys and keep them for as long as you can possibly get them, and then you can pick a few to keep, and then the rest of them's got to hit the road, and you got to do the process again. This is why it's so impressive what Brett Veach and the Chiefs have been able to do. That's why I was impressive of what Belichick and Brady was able to do. It's tough to build rosters. It really is. I think the reason they took Haddon, though, 100%, is because that the DB room does have a lot of, I don't want to say uncertainty, but it's got a lot of uncertainty. Let's just put it that way. If you think about it, they drafted Nick Jones last year, but he didn't hardly get any playing time. He hurt his hand. He was out. And look, they liked him. They think he could be a big part, but he did have an injury concern his entire first year. You had Najee Johnson coming off of an ACL, and he was pushing. But now you're going to have, feasibly, you're going to have Trent McDuffie move into a different position. Maybe he's going to get out of the slot and move more to the boundary a little bit more this year. Maybe he struggles, maybe he don't. I don't think he will, but his size was a liability. We've seen it in the preseason game against the Saints. They were just throwing balls up, to A.T. Perry, and A.T. Perry was eating his lunch there in the preseason game. So he does have those limitations. I think Josh Williams, they're not 100% thinking that he's there right now. Jalen Watson dealt with some injuries. I think that we've got a lot of potential, but I don't think it was enough that they wouldn't have took a stab at it. Me and Steve actually thought they were going to get 𝚂𝙗𝙸𝙸 100%. We picked him for the Chiefs in round 7. The same one we picked Xavier Worthy and Kingsley round 1 and round 2. So we actually hit 3 players. We thought that was insane. We didn't think we were going to get a single player this year, and we hit it because it was so weird. But the thing about Haddon is that he does have all the raw intangibles that you're talking about. Like, he is a pure cover guy. He only allowed a 7 QBR when they threw to him this year, and he was on pace for a beautiful season. If he wouldn't have got injured in October trying to dive at a quarterback and hurting his shoulder, this kid could have been a top 2, top 3 round pick. So in my opinion, I do believe that they just took the chance. He was the best value on the board, and they took it. I actually comped him to Entrell Rowe, if you remember him. He was 6 foot, 198, run a 4.5. That is 𝚂𝙗𝙸𝙸 made over, in my opinion. He's physical. He will hit you. The only thing I saw in his film, and me and Steve argue about this all the time, the only thing that I saw in his film that didn't translate was the fact that on a screen, he would come downhill and just blow you up. When they ran to his side, he was non-existent. He was almost a liability when they ran to him. So I'm like, what is the deal? Can he not get off the block? Does he not diagnose it well? Something about it. But look, Dave Merritt's going to have fun with this kid, and I'm with you. I think he's a fringe roster guy. I couldn't say 100% because last year me and Steve both thought 𝚂𝙗𝙸𝙸 out of Western Kentucky. That was a guy we wanted in the draft. Brett Veach picked him up. He played awesome in the preseason. And me and Steve were like, this guy's on the team. And then Brett Veach cuts him.
He had a great mustache, too.
Yeah, and he ends up going to Cleveland. And we were like, what? Like, we didn't get it. Like, you didn't even have to take Haddon this year. You had 𝚂𝙗𝙸𝙸 last year that played well. We called that. Like, He played amazing. How much more could you do in the preseason than what 𝚂𝙗𝙸𝙸 did to not make the team? So what does 𝚂𝙗𝙸𝙸 have to do now? Because if he's presumably starting behind Nick Jones and a healthy Najee Johnson and Watson, and you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to take 7 and 8 of these guys. And to be honest, I think Chamari Connor can come down and do a little bit of what Snead did. So now that you got Hicks in the room, you going to cut Bush? Like, what are you going to do? Like, there's so many DBs back there.
Never cut Bush.
It's crazy to think about.
Well, and it's funny you say that. You mentioned about Najee Johnson because we actually had his former teammate Ethan Driscoll.
Driscoll, yep.
Yeah, offensive tackle. We had him on the show Arrowhead Allies on Tuesday, and he was talking about how Najee Johnson knew every play that was coming. So, like, we know that Brett Veach is getting these guys that are intellectuals, smart dudes, day 3 picks. Those are quality picks. So, again, I am rooting for Kamal. I think he probably will make this team because he's just that talented. And he probably knows the game inside and out. Again, I was hoping for another receiver to double dip, in a class like this. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe Brendan Rice won't be anything, or maybe he will be, and the Chargers got themselves a nice little steal at like 235 overall, but I digress. A couple UDFAs, though, I want to talk about real quick, Mike, is guys that you and I have already talked about. You guys posted the question a week ago about who are the UDFAs that you like, who are your favorite guys, and the 2 guys that jump off the board for me, and we have some slides here. First and foremost is Penn State's linebacker, Curtis Jacobs. According to Eric Galko, Chiefs landed one of the most surprising UDFAs and one of the highest upside linebackers in the draft in Curtis Jacobs. Penn State has long been a linebacker factory, and Jacobs is an elite athlete with positional versatility and range for the Chiefs defense. They go on and on and on. We don't have to show all the other ones, but let's get to the RAD score if we could, Trevor. The raw athletic score.
Gotcha.
As you can see, this man he has a lot of upside. Just a gifted athlete. And I don't know how the hell he fell out of the draft. There must have been some sort of off-field issue or medical issue or something, man, because I had this dude as a 4th-round pick. I don't know what you had him as, but I was so big on this. And with the Chiefs, according to Aaron Wilson, they withdrew their tender for Cole Christensen. That tells me that they're confident that Curtis Jacobs might be a guy that makes this 53. What are your thoughts on this pick or this UDFA?
Right. Look, I liked Curtis Jacobson. I think he's a smart football player. You mentioned the Chiefs draft smart football players late in the draft. They draft Hunter Norzad, if I'm not mistaken. He went to Cornell. Yep. Smart. Yeah. C.J. Hansen, smart. With the Crusaders and Holy Cross. By the way, Holy Cross. You want to hear a fun stat about that one?
Yes. I know
Holy Cross. C.J. Hansen was the last player taken from Holy Cross since 1989's Rob McGovern.
Oh,
Guess who drafted him?
Who took him?
10th round pick, number 255, Chiefs. took Rob McGovern. So
Last
the
two
Chiefs,
players out of Holy Cross.
So the Chiefs have to change their name. They may go to the Kansas City Crusaders. That might be what they go for. They get to keep the C on it. But look, Curtis Jacobs, I really liked Curtis Jacobs. I think he does a lot of things well. He can cover. He can defend the slot. He can... Dude, they've actually had him go out and play some corner back in 2021. He played at the corner position for a few snaps. I want to say it was like 10 snaps or something. He's very versatile. His pass rush grade from PFF was like a 77, 78, somewhere in that range. His coverage grade, not bad. It was around like a 65, 66, somewhere in that ballpark. But what he struggled with and what I think dropped him in the draft was that he's a liability in the run game. He just can't defend the run. So he's going to be a guy like Willie. I thought Willie Gay was a guy that I thought played the run pretty well, but he never got to what you wanted. He defended passes pretty well, but it was never like the elite pass defense, right? Willie started becoming that guy that just felt like he wasn't going to get over the hump. And the only thing he actually did like super, super well was just get after the quarterback. There was a time I thought they were going to put 20 pounds on him and make him put his hand in the dirt.
Right. Freak athlete.
I thought he could have worked. But I think Curtis Jacobs is that Willie Gay freak athlete, and I think he's got a lot of the same intangibles. Maybe they take the shot with him and put him on the roster and let him develop. He's got to be more athletic than Cole Christensen, right? It's not a knock against Cole Christensen, but I mean, he's right there. The Chiefs, a lot of people are like, why didn't they draft a linebacker? And I'm like, well, they got, they picked up Curtis Jacobs as a UDFA, and I mean, he could have been. Let me look at my rankings really quick and see where I had Curtis Jacobs. I actually had him at linebacker number 16. I had him sitting right behind Tommy Eichenberg from Ohio State. I really didn't like Eichenberg. Just showed up to the combine and didn't do anything to me. Like, he looked so stiff and weird. I just couldn't get to him. But there was only a few.
Too.
Yeah, he was. The only guy that I thought could have went that I looked that to me played like Curtis Jacobs was Dallas Gant from Toledo. And I don't even think he got picked up. I think he didn't get drafted, obviously, but I don't know where he went. But we were big on Curtis Jacobs. We liked what he did. He's a smart kid. Again, he's very respectful. I think I had him at like a round 5, round 6 grade on him. So, I mean, he can do lots of things. He's not overly great at everything he does. I thought he was going to be a day 3 guy, maybe a UDFA. And look, I just didn't think the Chiefs would pick him up because they don't usually pick up guys that I like. but here we are.
They did this year.
They snagged him. Yeah, they did a pretty good job. I even put C.J. Hansen on my top sleepers picks. I thought he was a top sleeper. I had Hunter Norzad. I started talking about him on Twitter like right before that week because I was like, dude, I'm watching him, and he reminds me a little Creed Humphrey. And then lo and behold, boom, there he is. So I don't know. Maybe I should apply to be a scout somewhere.
Yeah.
I heard you don't get paid very well, though.
Well,
right?
Who's to say you? I think you might be playing us a little bit. I think you might be acting like, I had no idea the Chiefs like these guys, and really you're on the hotline with Veach over here. Like Veach, like, all right, bro, listen, I got 15 minutes.
I will say,
we got for M-Dub.
It's not out of nowhere. I played high school football. I was a lineman. So, I mean, we studied film 24/7. Like, I know how to watch film. I know what to watch for. So, I do see film differently and have the insight of being in rooms of how coaches watch film too compared to other people. A lot of people just plug in highlights and watch it. And I'm like, well, you're not getting nothing off highlights. If you see me in my highlights, baby, you think I was the coolest dude ever. But I'm not. I'm going to eat a bowl of cereal at 4 a.m. and I don't care. Like, don't watch that highlight. Okay? Don't do it. Watch me taking a walk around town to be healthy, not that bowl of cereal.
There's another UDFA I want to talk about real quick because there's a few of these guys that look like they could be a surprise.
Right.
But the one that I like a lot is Florida State's defensive tackle, Fabian Lovett, senior.
Yes.
6'4", 314 pounds, 35.5-inch arms, almost 11-inch hands. He has a prospect grade of 6.2, which basically means he could eventually become an average starter, according to Lance Zierlein at NFL.com. They said he had a round 5 draft projection. The NFL comparison was Eddie Goldman. Lovett is a wide-bodied, two-gapping impediment to running attacks, looking to impose his will between the tackles. So they go on. Basically, it sounds like his strengths and skill sets would be the opposite of what Curtis Jacobs is at his position. And look, man, I don't know if this dude's going to make the team, but I think upside-wise, he could be what the Chiefs have been negating for a long time, which is getting Chris Jones a running mate. Because I've been talking about that for the longest time. Chris Jones gets double teamed more than any other pass rusher in the league by a substantial margin. Last year was 71% of his snaps he was double teamed. I would love it if the Chiefs in the next 3 to 5 years can get him a guy that can, take away some of those double teams so he can start getting some one-on-ones and start upping his sack totals and keep him fresh for a postseason run because he's only going to get older. Maybe, just maybe, and I mean maybe, Lovett could become something in this defense. What is your optimistic point of view, or whatever your overall view is for Lovett with this defense? Do you think he's a guy that can make it, or is he just going to be a jag at training camp?
I really liked him. He was my number 2 nose tackle I had ranked. I had 𝙲𝙸𝙸𝙴, and then I thought Fabian Lovett was right there. I had him just
Lovett,
right.
My bad.
It could be Lovett. I'm not for sure. I just don't really like Lyle Lovett as a singer, so I want to go ahead and not put him in that same category. So, trying to be suave. Lovett just sounds like a ladies' man, right?
It is. It's good. It's
you don't want to look like Lyle Lovett. I mean, you can snag Julia Roberts, but what else you do in life? I don't know. Yeah, I really liked him, though. He was my number 2. I had him rated just above Christian Boyd and McKinley Jackson. And the funny thing is, McKinley Jackson I didn't really like. He was a nose tackle out of Mississippi State.
Or Mississippi State, yeah.
I thought the kid just, how are you a nose tackle if you're on the ground 24/7? Like, I was watching his film, and he was belly flopping more than anything, and then the dude gets drafted before all these other guys, and I'm like, whatever. What do I know? Just an idiot over here watching film. But, yeah, I really liked Fabian Lovett. We'll call him Lovett. Lovett. I'm gonna come out with a different, we'll call him LeVay. Yeah. So he played at Mississippi State, too, and he transferred over to FSU in 2020, and I actually liked him. I watched some of his film. I thought he was primarily a B gap guy. Like, you would think he was a nose. He was going to be right over the nose. He was going to be in the A gap. But no, he actually played the B gap a lot. He had an 83 run defense grade from PFF. 7% pass rush win rate, so not the greatest win rate, but he could show he could get after the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
In his career, he had 61 tackles, 57 pressures, and 5 sacks, but he also had 47 hurries, so he could get after it. Now, the thing about it is there was a reason he didn't get drafted, right? And I don't know what it is, because he had private workouts with lots of teams. He was gaining steam. He didn't do anything at their pro day, but I do know he had private workouts lined up with a lot of them. He even took a private workout with the Chiefs. So I don't know what was there. I don't know. I do know he's got a family. He's got a child. He was born with a complication, I think, and they ended up raising a bunch of money on, that site where they raise money on, and then it goes to, I forget the name of it. Yep, GoFundMe. So I know he's responsible. He seems more mature for his age. I want to say he's like 24, 25. Mm-hmm. I could be completely wrong about that because, again, I've got about 400 prospects in my head. But it's just one of those things where I thought he was going to get drafted. I thought somebody would take a flyer on him at like round 4, round 5. And when he didn't get picked, I was like, good night. Like, what? Like, me and Steve were actually talking about it. I clipped it. Steve's like, who's some UDFAs? And I was like, can you believe Fabian Lovett is going to be a UDFA, bro? Like, and I was like, if the Chiefs don't bring this guy in, they're crazy. And I'd actually talked about Ethan Driscoll. I thought that was a guy they could look at. He actually grew up and played football in Louisville in high school. So nice. I'm not for sure where. I think I said Mel, which is wrong. I think he played at some kind of Christian school, but I'm not for sure which one. Holy Cross, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent. But the point is I really like Lovett. I do think he could be a guy that could surprise some people. I think he's Derek Nnadi-esque in a way, which he's right out of Florida State. I think he could be that Mike Pennell kind of presence we need. And I think he's an early down guy for the immediate future. And the Chiefs just don't have a lot of long-term, defensive interior or defensive edge. Like, they don't have a lot of long-term guys there, to be honest. So I think I was surprised they didn't draft any. You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised they didn't hit that defensive line at some point in the draft, but here we are. They didn't even touch it. I guess they're going for Lovett as a UDFA. Brett Veach knew that all along, I guess.
If he did, he's a mastermind beyond belief, man.
Right.
Well, looking at the Chiefs roster right now, a couple more questions for you, Mike, before we get you out of here, bub. The Chiefs, as it currently stands, are tied with the Chargers for the second youngest roster in the league at average age of 25.9 years old. Right above the Titans at 26 and the Rams at 26. So, obviously, the Chiefs like to keep their team youthful on rookie deals, but we know that you eventually have to add a couple veterans here there at some key positions. We know for this will be the third year now where it's one of the most polarizing positions on the team. It's where they went first in the draft. It's wide receiver, and it's where I continue to harp on Twitter about. And I have to do it because I feel like outside of you guys, Chief Concerns, there's not a lot of people that talk about the real shit sometimes. They just want to just say all the things that everybody wants to hear. Sometimes you gotta have the real conversations, man. And something I'm still very much concerned about is this wide receiver room. And the primary reason is three reasons. One, everybody keeps telling me that Rashee Rice is the wide receiver one. He is the most physically gifted receiver on this team, and he's probably going to miss half the season, which opens up a can of worms for the Chiefs because he's 6'2", 203 pounds, only big physically gifted receiver on this team. Two, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore probably make this roster, and that's scary as hell because, like I said, they both just don't do anything for this offense at all, at least to the point of their careers. And three, you're trading up for an undersized wide receiver. And Hollywood Brown, who I like a lot, a good veteran guy you picked up this offseason for $7 million, is 5'9", 170 pounds. So there's a lot of small, underachieving type of guys in this wide receiver room still. And with the absence of Rashee Rice, to me, this team still has such a glaring need at wide receiver, which is why, even though, yes, OBJ isn't 2012, 2013 OBJ anymore, he's still a reliable receiver with really good hands that can come in here with the veteran presence, the experience of being a Super Bowl champion, has played with all different styles of offenses, still been productive. For $3.5 million to the Dolphins, I feel like the Chiefs could have maybe pulled that trigger. I know you guys don't like Tyler Boyd, so I'm not going to ask you about him. But there's been other names out there that I feel like the Chiefs could just bring in to add some depth, add some veteran presence to the room, man, that's much needed. Because if you look at the last 2 years, yes, the Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions, but they had two receivers on these 2 years that were bigger, more physical receivers they relied on, Juju Smith-Schuster and then Rashee Rice. If Rashee Rice is out for half the season or longer, they don't have that guy at all. And that's a worry for me because you're leaning even more on Travis Kelce, who's going to be 35 years old. You're leaning even more on undersized rookie receivers like Xavier Worthy. You're leaning even more on Hollywood Brown, who's a guy that is undersized in himself, who's going to have to rely on getting timing routes. I'm worried a little bit, Mike, about because we don't want to see them have to scratch and claw for points again like they did last year, where if they scored 20 points in a week, we thought they had a great week. It can't be like that anymore, man. When you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, it can't be like that anymore, man. They gotta start scoring points at a higher level. And I just don't know about this wide receiver room yet, man. What do they do, or how's this gonna go, man, with this wide receiver room?
Right, like I think Brett Veach just honestly, I think he thinks that he's in a much better position than he was last year going into camp. Is he? Maybe. They're not talking about Kadarius Toney being number one, so that's a plus. Yeah. So you're probably ahead there. I think Xavier Worthy gives them that little that spark plug that they've been looking for since Tyreek Hill. I mean, they can't stop. They even brought back Mecole Hardman halfway through the season. Like, they felt they needed something to the point to where they really did go out and trade back for Mecole Hardman. So that was kind of weird. But the one thing I'll say about Worthy is I don't think he's going to play at 165. I think he's going to be closer to that 175 to 180 mark. So he is going to be a little bigger. He is 6 foot. So he's taller than Tyreek Hill in a way. The one thing I really liked about Worthy that we've not talked about is his catch radius is in the 91st percentile. So he does offer you a lot of catch radius. He's not just a guy that Patrick Mahomes has to put the ball on. Like, he will go get it. Like, even for his size, he's got that 42-inch vert. Like, he's insane. So he's that athlete. I think they'll get him in the offense pretty quick. I think Hollywood's going to seamlessly fit into what they think Xavier Worthy could be. I think that's that bridge gap, that learning thing. And I would like to see Hollywood actually play himself into a longer-term deal. I think that'd be pretty sick, actually, because I think Mahomes needs those guys. We've talked about it. It's tiring for Mahomes to have to bring everybody up because of his level of play. Maybe some days he struggles. We seen it when he was sick versus Denver, and he looked like crap, dude. And we got the crap kicked out of us in Denver, right? So we seen him against, the Raiders on Christmas. He didn't look very good, and then lo and behold, there's nobody to help him up. Like, let's lift each other up a little bit, okay? Let's go to church. Let's lift each other higher or something. I don't know. Like, daggone. Like, why does Mahomes have to do it all? It gets annoying a little bit. But I will say this. I think the wide receiver room is decent. It's not great. I do get your OBJ thing. Like, do you want another guy that can go out and do some different things for you? Do you need a bigger guy? Do you need a more veteran guy? Look, they're sold on Kadarius Toney. I mean, they're not sold long-term, but I think they're sold with, like, he's a guy that they think they can get more out of. It's like they've squeezed that lemon to the last drop. They're going to see what they got out of him before they start eating the pulp. I don't know. You're not big on Skyy Moore. I tend to think Skyy Moore would be okay if they used him properly, but we've not seen them use him properly. We've seen flashes of them using him properly. I want to say there was a game where they got him the ball really quick in the first half, like 3 times, and he caught the ball and got up the field for like 12-yard chunks, like over and over and over. And I was like, what? Are they going to do it? And then nothing. And it's like, dude, that's what he was in college. Look, you recruited Xavier Worthy in college because he was fast, he could stretch the field. Now imagine if Andy Reid brought him in and put him as a wide tight end, put him on the line of scrimmage to block. And then we're all going to be like, bust. And we're like, yeah, you think? Like, that's not what he does. So that was always the argument, too. And people's like, man, we need to get Malachi Corley out of Western. I'm like, bro, you do know that's Skyy Moore. Like, that's Skyy Moore. He's the running back after the catch, the guy you get the ball to. I just don't know. I don't know if my optimistic feeling is that I think Andy has got the pieces he needs to make that offense flourish a little bit. And I just think we were missing that spark last year. We didn't have that guy. And look, as much as you hate it and Steve hates it, Justin Watson's going to be around too. And I think that will be the guy that comes in and does what they need if Rashee Rice gets suspended. I think he's got that body type that he could do that role. I don't know. I think it's weird. I don't think they're taking 7 again. Do you guys?
No, I don't. I think that Andy
so
did
they're
that
at
once.
6, right?
Yeah.
They're at 6.
Yeah.
So they've already got so many receivers on the roster. Who are you getting rid of at this point?
Right. And this is why I asked the question about Nico Remigio, because I feel that
Love
when he
him.
got a chance in the preseason, he shined.
Hell yeah.
And I don't think the Chiefs wanted to get rid of him, so much so that when he got that injury, they immediately stashed him. They didn't let him walk. Like they did, what's his name, that went to the Panthers. I forget his name, but they were all
Amir
big on him.
Smith. Mark Smith. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. You know, like they stashed him. So I think they're going to give Remigio a chance. Now, he's an undersized receiver as well. And to the Skyy Moore point, I feel like that might be a little bit of competition between them if there is any. The Skyy Moore thing for me, real, because I know you guys are still, you're a believer in Skyy Moore still, and I get it. The thing I've seen from Skyy that frustrates me is the way that he has ran some of the routes that he's been given. For instance, against the Niners 2 years ago, he ran that route really, really wide, and Futana, or the safety for the Niners.
Dominguez? Or
Futana, or
I know you're talking.
I'm losing my mind here.
I don't know his name either.
But anyway, he jumps the route because Skyy ran it too wide,
right?
And it ended up being an interception. Against the Bills last year, he was supposed to run that dig route, runs it too wide, and ends up being picked off. Like, there's a lot of things I think Skyy Moore just hasn't helped himself out when given the opportunity a lot of times. But I do agree with you, he hasn't been utilized in the right way, which makes me wonder, did the Chiefs draft him to be something else? Because to this point, they did the exact same thing with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He was a pass-catching running back out of LSU. Right. Joe Burrow loved chucking the ball to him. Loved it. They never do that with Clyde Edwards, hardly ever, in Kansas City. So there's got to be a mentality thing here with the coaching staff of, yeah, we knew what they did in college, but we see them becoming this. Do you think that might be a thing, or do you think they're just straight up whiffing with these players?
No, I think they want them to expand and see what they've got. Like you hit the nail on the head with Skyy Moore. When he come out of Western Michigan, the dude had a very limited route tree. I didn't think he was no more than a 3rd to 4th round pick, and Brett Veach fell in love with him, took him in round 2. Is that on Skyy Moore? Like, no. I didn't see him as a 2nd round pick. Is he going to be a bust? Yeah. Is Clyde going to be a bust if you take him round 1? Of course. If you'd have took him in round 3 where he belonged, was he fine? Probably so. I just think that the Chiefs reach a little bit. They put these guys in bad situations. I think this year Clyde's going to get an opportunity to take that Jerick McKinnon role. I think they seen it last year when he provided that spark and was making those catches out of the backfield. I think now they're like, hey, maybe he could slide over and be that McKinnon. Now he's got to get better in pass pro because that's one of his biggest knocks, but he can do it. Everybody liked him. Mahomes liked Clyde. That was one of the reasons he got drafted. I think a lot of people like Clyde. Like, he's a likable guy off the field. He's a good dude. He just fell into that injury bug. He got a little bit into that, but I thought this year he looked a little more healthy at times. I thought when he was asked to do things, he showed a little more spark than he did last year. It's fine. They didn't have to pay him the big 5th-year option, but they got him back for a cheaper contract. They've got so many options. I just don't know. I do think that I'm with you, though. If you don't use the guys the way they're meant to be. You know, you can't scout Sky Moore to do the small things like get him the ball quick, running back after the catch, limited route tree. And then he comes to, and then you're talking, well, he didn't run that route right and he got picked. He didn't run this route. Well, we know he can't run routes. Like, he didn't show it in college. Right. They didn't care. They said second-round pick. So who gets blamed for that? Does Brett Veach get a little bit of blame? Because nobody likes to blame Veach and them for nothing. It's kind of like Mahomes. Mahomes make a bad pass, it's everybody. And look, Sky Moore's been on the back end of that a few times too. Was it Sky Moore that ran the route against the Raiders? I don't remember what day it was, but they threw it. Mahomes audibled at the line and just come right out of the gate and flipped it to the side and it took a pick six. And then they blame the receiver for not seeing exactly what Mahomes seen. And it's like, you know, those are weird. Those are just weird plays because the DB ran the route that the receiver was supposed to run. So what was he supposed to do? I don't know. It's weird. But like we said, 7 wide, they're not doing it. I think it's 6. So who's the 6? Yeah, Hollywood's going. We know Hollywood's there. Xavier Worthy's going. We know he's there. I don't think they're getting rid of Justin Watson. I really don't. I think he's like Andy Reid and Mahomes' safety blanket, sadly. They've already said they're keeping Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. So who's 6? Who's 6? Is it Justin Ross? Are they giving up on him already?
You know what? If I had to guess right now,
if Nico?
Everyone stays healthy, I think Nico Remigio is making this team. I just think that he's a guy, even though the RAS scores don't show it, his athleticism isn't there. He looks like a guy that can make some differences because he can catch the damn ball.
He's been working with Pat all offseason,
yes.
too. He's been in that group. Yeah.
And Justin Ross has the size, but I feel honestly like last season was like that true test study for a lot of these dudes.
It ain't going to happen.
Like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, this is the reason why I've given up on them, is that last season was the perfect season for them to become something. Now you have Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy who are supposed to carry the load, not to mention Rashee Rice in year 2.
I didn't even put Rashee Rice in the 6th. So Rashee Rice is the 6th.
Right.
So that means Nico's gone.
Yeah.
He's not even in.
This is the point I'm making. Like, maybe this is a hot take, but I would rather have Nico Remigio than Kadarius Toney at this point. Because at least I know that Nico has potential. I know what Kadarius Toney is. He's an injury-prone player that drops the ball.
Hey, come on, man.
Hey, look, Mike, am I being fair here?
Look, he does. I think he got a case of the yips last year. I really do.
Here's what I question.
Here's what I question with him. Does he love football? Does he love the game? Is he putting it all in there or is he not? And that's the thing. If Nico loves the game more than he does, and I think I could get Nico's 100% focus and dedication, I may take him over KT in my opinion. But look, if you go off just pure football talent, KT's a spark plug. But he just can't do it. But look, would Michael Jordan have been Michael Jordan if he let the gambling win and he didn't want to do nothing? Maybe not. I don't know.
He did retire 3 times.
Yeah, I know. So that proves talent wins, right?
Yeah.
Talent wins sometimes.
What I'll say is this, one more point on Kadarius Toney, is because Daniel Harms was on our show a couple weeks ago from RGR.
Yep.
And you guys had him on the show as well. He's a great dude. And he said, I would have cut Kadarius Toney after he started basically accusing the team of lying about his injuries. He's been a problem on the field, was the reason they lost multiple games last season, and then his spread shit and misinformation off the field. Like, for me, he's been far more of a trouble, and in my opinion, the biggest reason why they're holding on to him is because the Chiefs don't want to take that L yet. I think what they want to do is kind of handle it like the Breland Speaks situation, where at the very end of the training camp, when no one's really paying attention, you cut him, or you let him go, or you try to get whatever you can out of him.
Do you think Kadarius Toney goes into camp this year and he immediately gets injured and he misses a few? He's gone. He's a camp casualty cut.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're going to go with. Maybe that's what they'll go with. Look, I was there. We were big on Nico. We were at camp last year when Nico come down, hurt his clavicle, shoulder, whatever it was he hurt. We were there. Watch that live. Heck of a catch. And dude, that dude went down hard. Me and Steve thought he killed himself. Like, we were like, my God, get this guy in the tent, bro.
He's dead.
And, dude, they were rubbing everything. They were rubbing his feet. They were like his earlobes. They were checking him for everything, bro. They were like, does he got the gout? What's up? This dude, I love Nico. And look, like you said, they've not cut him. They didn't do anything. They made everything kind of exempt there. They paid him. They did everything they had to do to keep him, to get him here. He's working out with Mahomes. I think they want to see what they got, especially with this new kickoff rule, because he is he's a special teams guy.
Yeah.
That's what he does. I think Kadarius Toney is literally walking a thin line, in my opinion, because as you said, he's throwing the team under the bus and everything. To me, I thought he was done. Like at first I was like, oh, it's going to be fine. And then he just keeps going and keeps going. And I'm like, dude, you are going to get the axe over here. But Andy and Brett Veach have kind of let some stuff slide. Have you noticed they're kind of playing like, instead of good cop, bad cop, they're both just good cop. Like there's nobody putting any kind of foot down here being like, you guys got to get it together.
And that's why I'm of the belief that they're holding out to pick the right time to separate themselves, because I think if they would have cut, like Daniel Harms was suggesting, if they would have cut him the moment he was saying that stuff off the field, it would have come off as knee-jerk to the fan base. If they wait now, and let's say you talked about, he gets hurt again early training camp, and then they do it, or they wait a couple weeks into training camp after like the first preseason game or something, then they're like, well, kind of makes sense. And then everyone's all caught up in the Xavier Worthy hype, and everyone's focused on that.
He doesn't have much trade value. But do you think Brett Veach maybe uses these next few months to work the trades and be like, try to get a 6th, 7th round pick out of this kid?
Absolutely.
I think maybe you could see him being like the Amir Smith-Marset, the late camp trade that pulls in something. Possibly you separate yourself that way. I don't think there's a lot of trade value with Sky either, in my opinion. He's not really done anything to do that. But I do think could you imagine Sky Moore, though, playing with Tom Brady and just peppering him in the slot 10 times a game? That's what he should be doing. But we don't run that style of offense, right? But somebody out there would run it. So maybe there is some kind of you're not going to get a lot. You're going to you wasted a 2nd round pick, you're going to get like a 7th back. Like you're not getting nothing out of him. But the point is like, will he do it? I don't know. In my opinion, I would keep Kadarius Toney, or I would keep Sky Moore over Kadarius Toney for at least one more year, because we knew Sky was a project out of Western Michigan, and just the gap is there. Like, I think you got to see what he can do. And then after year 3, I think it's fair to start saying, hey, he struggled all 3 years. He's not getting better. He's not showing any signs. He's got to go. I just think people have lost their patience nowadays. Like, people don't like it. Like, imagine if you put your kid in baseball. Like, I'm one of those parents that'd be like, bro, it's been 2 games and this kid sucks. Like, let's put this kid in chess. I'm tired of it. But your wife's going to be like, be nice. Like, give him a couple years, and then maybe he turns into A-Rod. Who knows?
He's 6.
Yeah, he's 6, Mike. Chill out. Like, he's playing high school baseball at the age of 6. Like, chill. And I'm like, this dude sucks, bro.
This dude's
my kid absolutely sucks. Like, we're doing something different. Like, I don't know. I think Brett Veach is that proud dad that don't want to admit he whiffed on Kadarius Toney a little bit, right?
Yeah, dude, that's exactly what I'm saying. And I think that right now I would trade him for a box of tropical fruit Mike and Ike's and a get well soon card. Like, I would literally trade him for anything right now.
Me and Steve make the joke. The Walgreens in our town have Doritos, 2 bags for $8. Like, that's a steal, right? Like 5 years ago, you could have got 7 bags for $8.
I do think some of it is the romanticization of him scoring in the Super Bowl and having that punt return. I think some of those things still are romanticized. That shows you how much of a spark he is, though, right? Sure.
And I think they don't want to give up on that. Look, he's got all the talent in the world.
Yes.
Can he get it together? I don't. That's a different thing. And something tells me I tend to want to take the guys that love the game, that is a student, that will hold themselves accountable. And from everything we see from the outside perspective, because none of us are on the inside, we don't know what Kadarius Toney does. I don't know what the coaches think about him. But to me, it looks like he places blame more than he accepts.
Yep.
To me, it comes off as more as like a what's it called? Like a narcissist kind of mentality, into which everything is something else. And look, you can't be great doing that. I don't know. I just don't think Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore will contribute a lot this year. So, in my opinion, I would cut Kadarius Toney if it come down to him or keeping some younger talent. In my opinion.
And one more thing, and I got one more question for you, Mike. We'll get you out of here, man, because you've been with us for an hour. The fact is, I think that, because Trevor's right, what he did in the Super Bowl by running that back, the longest punt return in Super Bowl history, people use that as justification of keeping him around. My problem with that is the Chiefs didn't trade 2 picks to get a punt returner. They got him, and Brett Veach himself was saying in press conferences, he will be a wide receiver 1. He's a star, and he's been anything but that. So I hold players to the level of their expectation. Like I said about Xavier Worthy, he isn't just a first-round pick in a deep-ass draft class of wide receivers. He got traded up for. Therefore, the expectations change. When the Chiefs drafted Eric Fisher, first overall, the expectations are you're going to play like a first overall pick.
Well, and I'll say this too. we haven't heard Sky Moore get like, amazing reviews from Travis Kelce and other teammates really like out just by themselves, out going out of their way to do that. Travis Kelce on his own podcast went out of his way multiple times to defend KT and talk about how talented he is and the things he does at practice. So I do think there is things he's doing and that they believe in his skill set. Travis Kelce himself, Brett Veach obviously believes in him. Andy Reid obviously believes in him. They believe in Sky Moore, but we've heard multiple Randy reviews from Travis Kelce himself on his podcast talking about what KT can do. And I believe in KT's skill set, but does he have it up here, as Mike said? I think that's the biggest question because I think the skill set is there. Can he stay healthy and provide some good football plays? I don't know, but I think it's there.
It's a what have you done for me lately business. Sure. And the one time, week 1, Travis Kelce's out. You're against the Lions.
Yeah.
KT's supposed to be the guy, and he has maybe the worst game a wide receiver's ever had in the history of the NFL.
Sure.
Literally.
Yeah.
And it cost him that game multiple times. For me,
and that healthy scratch in the playoffs.
Yes. They don't even want him on the field, man. Yeah. So that tells me what the team really thinks.
Do you remember was it off season when they were talking about KT1, KT wide receiver 1, and like a lot of us were like, guys, you probably need to go get like D-Hop or something. Like, remember in D-Hop, they were like, D-Hop sucks. Like, quit talking about him, KT. And then do you remember the narrative that came around? The narrative that came around, and it was like, we were like, well, how can he be a wide receiver 1 if he's always injured? Remember that one? And he was injured the first day of camp. And then what was the whole sentiment everywhere? Well, as long as he's healthy for the playoffs, that's all we need. And then he's a healthy scratch.
Yeah, man.
So at that point, why is he here? Like, what's he doing? And to your point, Trevor, I think Kelce and all them were doing that because the Chiefs, I do believe they feel like in that locker room like they're a family. Like they're going to support their own. And with a guy going through the yips or whatever Tony was going through, a tough time, I don't think anybody was going to, they weren't going to pile on. He's not going on his podcast.
You didn't see that on the field when Kelce had his arm around KT.
Kelsey's not going on that podcast and being like, look, Kadarius Toney sucks. Get him out. Like he's not doing it. He's going to pump him up a little bit. He's going to be to the 6-year-old kid that I'm not. Right. Like I'm going to be like, get off the field, bro. You suck. And he's going to be like, yeah, and he's like, no, it's okay, buddy. Just keep swinging. I'm like, don't swing. Don't.
My team.
Just don't swing. Go to
home
right
to
field
mommy.
And you shut up. I don't know, man. But, yeah, I don't know. I think the wide receivers is still an intriguing thing. Like, I thought it was intriguing last year. It was the story of camp. Was like, what was our wide receiver room going to be? And then this year, Brett Veach kind of made some moves. Like, he got the first-round pick. He signed Hollywood, which I loved. I thought Hollywood was the best fit in the offseason. Yeah. They snagged him. That was the guy I wanted, and you got Rice back, and look, I don't think he's going to be suspended this year. I really don't. Everybody says 8 games and this and that. I think his lawyers are paid. They're going to drag this out until next offseason. They're going to just keep delaying. And look, Goodell can't suspend something that hasn't been played out in the legal process. He's already said it. True. So I think he's going to push it. Then he's going to take a bunch of plea deals. And to be honest, if Rice comes out and over this next year, while they're pushing it, he accepts all the responsibility and accepts he's bad and he starts doing things that make his image look better, I think Goodell will even be better on the penalty. I think the NFL likes that when you have a little bit of self-acceptance. And you can't go at it with the Kadarius Toney idea of like somebody hacked your car and drove it into someone. Like
it was AI.
It was AI.
Right. So
real quick, let me ask you this question to that point. Because I do believe that the NFL looks at that stuff, they respect that. What if the Chiefs were to say, hey, listen, NFL, we're going to suspend Rush. We're going to suspend him a couple games. Wouldn't that, would that be justification to the NFL, or they still want to tack on a little bit more?
Right, so you're kind of going the NCAA route when they get hit with sanctions. They're like, we're going to self-impose a postseason ban.
Yeah.
Could it work? I don't know. Maybe. I think if they did it more along the line, I think the Chiefs would have to be harsher than Goodell would have to be for him to accept it. Right. So if a Goodell in his head's like, I'll give him 6 games and then let him, plead down to 4. We'll be fine with it. But if the Chiefs come out and they're like, we're going to go 8 games, maybe Goodell would be like, okay, yeah, go ahead. You be the bad guy here. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's possible. I don't think he's going to get 8. Like, to be honest, what's he did? Like what's he done? Yeah. Like, let's be honest. What's he done? He raced a car. He sped and he hit somebody. Bad. I get it.
And fled.
And then he walked away from an accident. And look, like, is that a crime? Yes. You're not supposed to leave the scene of an accident. But I think more so he gets judged on just being a bad person. And it's not a crime to be a bad person. You don't have to check on the person, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the injuries is what everyone
as much as that makes
on.
it makes you a piece of crap, to be honest. But legally, there's not much there. He's going to plead for speeding and hitting but these are all misdemeanors, right? And the people that say he's going to jail is beyond me. I'm like, you guys are nuts.
He'll never do. I've been told by lawyers that we've friended here on our show, he's never going to see bars.
No,
he's never going to serve any time. But we did hear, and the reason why I started getting worried for this year was when James Palmer came out this last week on Steve Smith's show. And he made it sound like it's not even a question that he's going to serve several games.
Well, did you hear what he said, though? He did say that the Chiefs expect the NFL to go 8 games. So he didn't say the NFL is saying that. He said the Chiefs expect. So maybe he spoke to somebody with Kansas City that are like, look, we're expecting worst case scenario. That's what we're planning for. But that don't necessarily mean anything.
But
I've done some stupid crap in my life, and I thought my dad was going to kill me. And that's what I expected. But then I got a week suspension. And I was like, okay, cool.
The question, though, it begs the question, what are the Chiefs basing that off of, though? Because you have to think they're getting some sort of intel that makes them prepare for that. You know what I mean?
Maybe the whole Omenihu thing. I mean, he did get 6, right? And you would assume this is a little worse, but is it? Like, Omenihu got in trouble for smacking a lady on the side of the street in San Jose.
It's hard to compare.
Right. I feel like it's a little, I don't know. I think the NFL are a little worse on domestic violence. I think that's why Willie got in trouble so much over the vacuum cleaner incident.
Yeah.
Damn 8-pound orc.
That Hoover deserved it, baby. But I don't know. To me, I just think it's a little overreaction. I think that the reason it feels like it's worse than it is and that the world's caving in is because the Chiefs are at the top right now and everybody else just wants to see the downfall. So everybody is out there saying this is horrible. He should be put in prison. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I feel like it feels worse than it is. If this was a guy that played for the New Orleans Saints, for example, and he just gets brushed under the rug, doesn't it? Like, you don't even hear about this. He gets 2 games. What about Kamara beating the guy to death and gets a 2-game suspension?
That was wild.
I agree with what you're saying. I do think because of the recency of Henry Ruggs and what happened with him, I do think the NFL's looking at this as a potential trend in their league of young guys getting excessively, aggressive behind the wheel, and they want to nip this shit in the bud.
Well, and the paraphernalia, the marijuana, and it being in Texas, and the what ifs, someone could have died, is a lot.
And the league knowing that Rashi's going to get off with a slap on the wrist, they're going to make sure that he doesn't get that with them. Goodell likes to lay the hammer down and lay it thick.
Example.
You're 100% right. Like, from the legal standpoint, I don't think he gets much.
Right.
From a league standpoint, he could, and I think from the fan standpoint, he gets the worst. I think the fans are the one. From the public image, they're like, he raced, he did this, he did that. But come on.
Yeah. Well, I think I told
if you're 21 years old and you have Lamborghinis, are you going to do something stupid too?
Bro, I had a Civic, and I was doing that shit.
Well, so. I think I told you guys on your show when I was with you and Steve recently. I believe it was on your show when I said, like, look, here locally, even when Tyreek Hill became one of the best receivers, best weapons in the league, and we knew he was innocent and served 0 suspension time, there were Chiefs fans that no longer liked him. It didn't matter what he did on the field or how proven he was to be innocent.
Isn't the situation, though, like if he's presumably if we're OJing him, right? So, like, he's not guilty, but he's guilty. That's worse than what Rice does, right?
What I'm saying is that from a fan perspective, you bring that up about how that's probably going to be the worst part of it.
Yeah.
That I do think is what Rashi's going to deal with now. Is no matter what happens of all this, or no
he's
one
always
got
going to be
killed,
the piece of crap that didn't check on the people that he could have injured. I understand that.
Yeah.
From a legal standpoint, though, I think he walks like pretty clean.
Probably will. You're probably right.
Like, in my opinion. Like,
that's why you hire Royce West.
I'm not saying that's right or wrong, because a normal human that don't have that money is probably getting destroyed.
We're fucked.
Doubt.
But that's the America we live in. Accept it. Like, just accept it. Like, if you're rich, you get a different set of rules.
Mike, I have one more question before we get you out of here, brother. And again, thank you so much.
One more last question.
All the time, bro. Really, really appreciate it. One last question, one last time. We have not talked about the running back room.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about that too. Because obviously Isaiah Pacheco, top 10-ish running back in the league, effective player, aggressive runner. We all love him. But 2 years in, he's been injured both years. And he's only going to be getting older.
Yeah.
And that is something that I worry about in itself. It also worries me that even though I'm a Clyde guy and I like Clyde, I think he's a better running back 3 than a running back 2. And right now, he is the running back 2. Now, I'm expecting the Chiefs to fill this room, but I don't expect it to be with Jerick McKinnon. And that means that more than likely, because if you look at the available free agents and running backs, it's pretty scarce. So what the hell are they going to do here, man? Because I mean, maybe it's Deneric Prince, maybe it's some P. Ryan, LaMichael P. Ryan. Like, what do you think they're going to do with the running back room here, man?
A little PP. A little P. Ryan. Dude, look, I think they had some high hopes for Deneric Prince last year. He was working out with like former Chiefs and this and that. And there was some hype, but then when the preseason got there, they didn't really give him a lot of carries, so we didn't really see a lot. You've seen a lot from P. Ryan. People in Chiefs Kingdom were talking about how P. Ryan should have been, running back 1, like, or at least running back 2. Like, he was supposed to go, and Clyde was supposed to get cut last year. Do you remember that? Little scenario. So look, I think they've got like options for the McKinnon row, right? And I think that's why McKinnon's not back, because I do think maybe P. Ryan could fill that row a little bit. Again, all these guys are not going to do what Jerick McKinnon does, but Jerick McKinnon can't play forever. Right. So does he even want to play? I don't know. Like, I've not heard anything from McKinnon. Like, I'm kind of curious. Like, does he want to come back and we're not offering it? Or
well, he hasn't called me out yet on Twitter, so that's a sign that maybe he is.
There you go. So yeah, I think maybe Clyde can step into more of that running back 3. We know that Clyde is a pass catcher. Like, we know it. That's what he was at LSU. So that would be a good, intriguing scenario. I think maybe Deneric Prince sliding into number 2. But look, they went and they've looked at Carson Steele. I'm not for sure any of these guys could actually do it. To be honest, the running back room is very green. Like, they're not very experienced. When Clyde's your most experienced guy, you might be in trouble. But I will say Pacheco runs hard. That's why he gets injured. I don't think he's just like abnormally injury prone or anything. I just think that's his style. Like, he's going to get hit and he's going to take a beating. And I love the kid. Like, Pacheco's one of my faves. Like, but yeah, he does run so hard. It's like, dude, you got to have a backup insurance policy. And I don't know. And I don't think the kid that, played for the Ravens was the guy either. The injury prone guy that they were looking at that everybody freaked out about. I forget
Dobbins.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins. I didn't see that being it either. So
he's missed 42
I don't really know where they go.
The last 3 seasons.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of Prince. Maybe we'll see Prince more in this preseason and see what he does. Maybe P. Ron steps up a little bit. I don't know. They did sign Keontae Ingram too at the end of last season, so maybe he's still with the team. So
what about that rugby kid?
Yeah, I can't get on board with him. I feel like that's more like
back.
Doesn't that feel like a PR kind of thing or something to make the Chiefs look good with the league?
It never works out.
But look, he could. It could. I'm not going to write him off. I mean, rugby's a rough sport. Like, maybe if he puts some pads on, maybe he gets even more awesome. Who knows? But we'll see. I think everybody's going to get a good, legit chance to prove it here in the OTAs and the camps and the preseason. And we'll see. I think they'll just take the 4 best they got. And then if it looks a little bleak here after a few weeks, maybe they go to the free agency market. Maybe even you see a trade. Nobody's looked at that option, but maybe you find a guy that's been out for 4 or 5 years that is getting ready to come up on the end of his rookie contract and kind of underproduced, and Brett Veach makes a little deal for him. You've got players, even the Jets, for example, they drafted 2 running backs this year, and they drafted 3 last year. Like, they're just loaded with running backs.
Take Breece Hall off your hands, no problem.
Yeah, right. Or who was the kid they drafted last year? It wasn't too bad. Israel Abakanda or whatever his name was from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
See, they don't use him much, and they went ahead and drafted 2 or 3 this year.
I believe Alvin Kamara's on his last year of his deal too. So
yeah, see, that was what me and Steve were kind of talking about in the offseason. That'd be fun if you could have snaked him. But then, because he could you imagine how much you extend his career if he comes to KC and he takes the McKinnon role?
Telling you,
like that would be nasty. We put out for that, but everybody they bit our heads off and said we couldn't pay him. But
I'm all for
Chiefs
it.
Got a lot of money right now.
Well, that's the thing is, you wouldn't have to pay Alvin Kamara. He's 29 years old. He's a running back.
Yeah.
Right. I think you could restructure that deal and be like, dude, come win you some rings. The Chiefs aren't afraid of your offseason. Like, go beat people in the offseason. It's going to be fine with us.
Give him a 2-year extension for $17 million.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
I mean, it's just an idea. Could you imagine now if your room, like, how more sure of your running back room now than what it was that you just talked about? If you've got Pacheco, Kamara, and now you've got Clyde as your RB3 and right.
Noah Groniger's in the chat saying Or he could have just drafted Alvin over Tanu Passanho.
Noah, nobody needs your logic.
Stop
Nobody
making
needs
sense,
it, bro.
Noah.
We all know Tano was like the best ever to be drafted.
That's such a Dorsey guy, dude.
Oh, my
Just
goodness.
freak athletes.
Isn't it funny when you go back and
Wasn't
you
even a
look at the
football
what
player.
ifs of the draft? Like the year that we take, Hardman over DK. And I want to feel like Terry McLaurin went like round 3 or 4 that year. Was that the same year?
Yes.
It's crazy.
That was a great
I kind of
draft.
thought the Chiefs were going to look at, maybe not Swift. Was he the free agent this year? Who signed with the Bears?
DeAndre
was
Swift.
it Swift?
Yeah.
I thought he may have been out of the range of what they looked, but I really like the kid that come out of Washington, man. I thought he could have been a nice pickup
Antonio
for
Gibson.
us. Yeah, he was one of our
I
top.
wanted him.
Oh, yeah.
I thought what
Great
he
pass
could do
catcher.
as a third down back in this league.
Only
Verted wide
25.
receiver.
Really liked what he offered, and I don't even think the Chiefs looked at him, bro.
Yeah.
You could have got him for a low market deal.
Yeah,
Great pass
he was high
catcher.
on our off-season list.
Aaron Jones, too. Didn't get paid that much. So.
Yeah, they traded him almost immediately or something, didn't they?
Yeah.
What was it? They just cut him? I don't remember what they
Yeah,
did,
it
but it
basically-
happened fast, dude.
Yeah.
We're just sitting here. We're just sitting here bitching about a 2-time back-to-back Super Bowl championship team, man.
That's what everybody tells you.
We got
It's
a rough
funny.
life here, man.
It's like, bro, like you gotta have something to talk about. Like we can't just like how boring is life if we're just like, well, we've won 2 in a row. Trust V,
Mike.
gotta go. Turn it off.
Hey, Mike, we're glad you have on the show. We just want to sit here and talk about the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Let's just sit here and talk about that for 45 minutes.
Dude, Brett Veach's hair was on point this past weekend. Who did he pick? Don't know, don't care. Trust Veach.
Trust in Beach.
Hey, somebody, Monty Bailey. We brought in Monty Bailey. I see you, Ruben. I forgot about Monty Bailey.
Yeah.
That's
he's
true.
not a size speed guy for sure.
Not the best.
His RAS score is like a -7. But
Yeah.
But dude, he's got vision. And where did they see him? Senior Bowl. Chiefs love Senior Bowl.
You're
guys.
right about
I'm
that.
telling you. They love Senior Bowl. They love Shrine Bowl. They'll even dig deep and go down to the Hula Bowl. Who the frick's playing in the Hula Bowl? I think I got
the
to
Hookah
invite to that
Bowl.
next year.
And there's always cuts. There's always cuts, too.
Yeah.
As we will nab off the, other rosters. So.
I'm not too worried about it. That's where it comes into me is like sometimes I'm like get a little worried. Like last year, I think we all had a reason to believe that without getting DeAndre Hopkins, our receiver room was going to be trash. And lo and behold, we were proven right every step of the way. But at the end of the year, we still won a Super Bowl. And then magically, now it's not a problem anymore.
Mike,
I don't know.
this is the
Winning the
seven.
Super Bowl is the best and worst thing.
Yes, Mike. This is the 7 rings of hell for me.
Yeah.
Is that I have to sit here and explain to Chiefs fans and acknowledge that yes, they won the Super Bowl despite the wide
not
receiver
because
room.
you want
Yes.
look, as a GM. If I'm Brett Veach, I want to look at it and be like, look, if we win the Super Bowl 3 in a row, I want to do it because I helped this team in all the areas.
Yes.
I don't want to be like, hey, I missed again here, and we still lucked out because of Patrick Mahomes. But that doesn't make you look good in a way.
No,
I thought
if it takes your defense playing at a historic level, everyone stays healthy at the right time. Travis Kelce at his extended age goes God mode, and Patrick Mahomes has to carry the majority of the offense with both his legs and his arm. Yeah, it'll probably work, but how? Like, is that really what you want to do every single year?
Do you feel like, honest opinion? Do you think our defense stays elite? Do you think we get better? Do you think we take a step back this year? Because
So,
realistically,
I
I feel like you have to take a step back, right?
I heard you guys talk about this on your show. I've heard a couple other shows say this. I think there's going to be a natural regression from what they were because they were so special last season. But do I think this is a top 10 unit? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I do.
And if they're a top 10 unit,
dude,
they're
people
a Super
thought
Bowl
I was
favorite.
crazy last year. I told everybody at the beginning of the year, I was like, if this defense comes together, they are not only top 10, they're top 5.
Yes.
And people thought I was nuts. And I was like, this is a top 5 unit in this league with Spags. Because Spags can get stuff out of players. We talk about squeezing lemons. Like, this dude has the eternal lemon.
Right.
He can squeeze this little tiny lemon. You can have,
He's
lemonade
the lemon
for months.
whisperer.
Yeah, like Spags does good work. Spags doesn't get enough credit for
Well,
what he's done.
The maths, though, think about it. Brett Veach, what was it? Over 67% of his draft picks since 2020 to 2022 were defensive players. So he invested so heavily on getting Spags the type of defense he truly wanted all along. And it's no coincidence that after those 3 drafts, he has arguably the greatest defense in the history of the Chiefs. Because, like you said, Spags knows how to coach the shit out of people.
Yeah.
He can make a 3-star guy into a 5-star guy. Imagine when you're giving him Trent McDuffies and George Karloftises and guys like that. He's going to turn them into freaks, man.
Look, when you got Joe Cullen and you've got Dave Merritt, those are some of the best in the game. Both of those guys should be DC somewhere. 100%. Dude, 100%. We were at camp last year, and Joe Cullen was raging on people, dude. Like, you could hear this dude back in KC, all the way in St. Joe, telling somebody to get off their ass and go hit somebody. Like, it was insane. I love Joe Cullen, dude. He is mean, and he will get after it. But they get the most out of their guys. They really do, and I think that was one guy last year that I thought was going to be a little bit more intriguing, and he didn't pan out, was the kid they took from Texas last year, that big nose
Keandre
tackle.
Coburn.
Yeah, I expected a little bit more out of him. He just couldn't get it
Yeah.
together. I don't know. Is he back with the team yet? Because he's been off and on 7 times, right?
Yeah, he was with the Broncos, then not with the Broncos. Then I think he signed with like.
He's not with us right now, is he?
No, he's not.
I don't think he is.
He signed with like 2 other teams.
He's still alive, but he's not with us.
We'll miss you. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Not to you, but your career. You know, but
yeah,
but Mike, look, dude, this has been fun. I feel like we could just keep going, but dude, you've already done so much freaking work, and that's why we have you on the show, because you're one of the few guys out there that just tells it as it is. You always bring your crew with you whenever you come on the show, man. You always have your people in the chat. I couldn't thank you enough for what you do, man, and not just for our show, but honestly for Chiefs community, because you and Steve have that unique ability to have such a relatability with the fans while also saying things that are not popular with the fans. That makes sense?
Right. Yeah, I get it. Sometimes, you said it. You can be the guy that just promotes the positivity 24/7, and but sometimes you got to be the guy that just kind of brings people. You got to be the good cop, bad cop. You got to be the dad, that says, "Look, mom's gonna let you slide. I'm gonna tell you how it is."
Tough love.
That's what it is. The kingdom's my children. I got to keep them in line.
Hey, got to give them a little smack every once in a while.
and you would think you were wrong a lot, but when you were telling people last year to look, I love Justin Ross, but let's pump the brakes. And then here we are, and he's like, is he even going to make the team?
You're right.
Like, everybody, P. Ryan, man, he should have been on the team. Like, let's pump the brakes. It's the preseason. Where's P. Ryan? I don't know.
Everybody kept telling me Kadarius Toney was going to be the guy. Now we're sitting here talking about cutting him in camp. Life comes at you fast, bro. And I never asked for it, but I'm the heel in Chiefs community. You guys are the ones that, stay cool with everybody, even though you guys have, unpopular opinions sometimes. But that's just how it goes, man. We got to be real. We got to keep it real. And that's what we have here on the show, dude.
I put too much time and energy into it to spend more time arguing with people. I can't do it. I'm like, my God, bro, I don't care at this point. I don't
real quick,
care.
Before you get out of here, dude, let the people know what's coming up with the show. Obviously, everybody knows where to find you guys, but you can still throw your socials out there. But let the people know what's to come, because I believe in a week, 2 weeks, mini camp start, and then OTAs will be here. This summer's going to go by quick, man. What's happening in the ACU universe?
Right. So ACU, man, everything's back running. We got the monetization back.
Hell yeah.
Yay. But yeah, we're building. It's the off season. You pick a niche with an off season. I get it. It's an off. So it's a little down in the dumps. But look, we're picking back up. We're going to have mini camps. We're going to have rookie mini camps. We've got OTAs. We've got all the good stuff. And then before you know it, they're going to be putting the pads back on. So it's going to be fun. Follow us on All Chiefed Up, all platforms. We're trying to grow Facebook. We got in late on the game there. We got in late with Instagram. There's so many out there. My God. Can we just pick one social media and roll with it? I don't know. But yeah, people are mean on every one of them. So it doesn't matter. It's just, where do you want to be mean to me next? Just find a social media platform, hit All Chiefed Up and go for it. But, yeah, man, we try to put out videos every week. We'll try to put out shorts, try to make it interesting, and we like to talk a lot. So come in, get in our chat, meet our ACU crew. They're awesome, and just appreciate you guys for letting us be part of the kingdom of talking heads, I guess, is what you do. People say that, and I'm like, I don't like to say I'm a talking head. I'm just a fan that decided to turn my camera on and get on YouTube, I guess.
We got whether fans know it or not, they need people like us, bro. They gotta have something to chew on in the off season, otherwise they go nuts and they just be farmed by the radio hosts out here that don't seem to understand that Kingsley 𝚂𝙿𝙸𝙀 had the same arm length as Joe Alt, but I digress. But nevertheless, guys, go please follow All Chiefed Up. I think they're the best show out there. Them and Chief Concerns are my 2 favorite shows to digest. They have obviously some of my best pals on the shows, but these guys are well informed and they know what they're talking about, and they're great guys. They're great guys to follow. You can also find all of All Chiefed Up stuff on our the Spoken group on Facebook, because like I said, they're getting on Facebook now. They will share their content on our group as much as they possibly can, as much as they possibly want to. So you can find their stuff there. But go subscribe to their YouTube channel because they got remonetized. Help them grow that even more. I think you guys are what, almost 40,000 subscribers?
No, we're not that good yet. We're about 28. We're at 28.
You're gonna get there before you know it.
We died down in the off season a little bit, but I do appreciate you guys bringing me on, letting me come in and talk. Trevor, you're awesome. Lance, you're the man. We're gonna try to get down for camp this year too, so maybe we'll have to meet up and have some barbecue again, bro.
Let me
Trevor,
know.
You gotta make it out this time, bro.
Yeah,
for sure. Should we do a big meet and greet with everybody again, or just keep it personal this time?
No, I mean that's up to you. I think that the majority of the people will probably be there to hang out with you and punch me. So that's a risk you can take if you want. But if you want to make it a personal thing, we can do that too.
You're right. We'll try. Well, either way, if it goes if we have to go personal or not, we'll meet up and we'll hang out. And can't wait to see you guys, man. I'm ready to get up there for camp. I was thinking about coming up for about a week and staying, just getting an Airbnb and just covering camp for like a week. But
dude, that'd be
Steve
awesome.
Doesn't like to do that. He's got children at home, and he will get screamed at if he leaves for too long. So it'd be me riding solo. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys. I really do.
Let me know, dude. We'll be up there and hang out with you.
For sure, man. You guys have a good one. Have a good day, and go Chiefs.
Awesome. Mike Williams, have a great weekend, brother. We appreciate him from All Chiefed Up. That is the guy, man. We could have just kept going. I swear there's like the Williams brothers, Marcus Dash, Jason Dunn, Daniel Harms. Those are the guys that, man, we could just talk and talk and talk with. It didn't even feel like it. That felt like 30 minutes. That just flew by, man. And I appreciate the chat. Y'all were going 30 minutes. Nuts when Mike was on there. Nuts. And we appreciate you guys for being on here as well. Shout out to Mike. Go follow, guys. Hit them up on YouTube. YouTube's trying to fuck them over so many times, demonetizing them for whatever fucking reason. I think there's some haters in the house. I'm not going to say who, but there's people in the community that get jealous really quick.
They hate us because they ain't us.
Yes, and All Chiefed Up has been absolutely killing the game, and they're going to continue to kill the game. So go follow them on all the social platforms, especially on YouTube, guys, because that's where they make their money. The goal, what I want to see, dude, honestly, full transparency here, I want to see our shows full-time, where people aren't working day jobs. I want to see Mike and Steve quit their day jobs because their YouTube presence is so heavy, so big, they can go that route. I want that for us here. I want that for Chief Concerns. I want that for all the people out there that are giving out the honest content, for them to be able to say, you know what, this is our job now. I want that to be the case, man, because these people work hard. Yeah. Mike and Steve, man, they bust their ass, dude. They have day jobs, they have families, and they still put out constant content, more content than really anybody outside of maybe Chief Concerns. And you know the quality of these shows, man. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Chiefs community that get it, that understand that we're not competition, we're family, and we all can eat, man. So let's fucking grub, dude. So shout out to Mike, shout out to Steve, All Chiefed Up. Go follow them. Trevor, let's get to the people, man. It's time for speaking.
All right, so that was a good, healthy conversation. It was a lengthy conversation. It was fun and it flew by. We only have 3 that I highlighted because we got to a few of them earlier on in the show. But there was a lot of chatter back and forth while we were talking with Mike about everything. Everybody had very strong opinions on certain things.
Yeah.
But there was a few that I highlighted that were actual questions. So I'm going to get to the first one here from Super Devil Juice. Welcome back to the show on YouTube. Would you oppose drafting another O-lineman next draft?
Absolutely not. Because Jawan Taylor's contract will be up after 2025.
Right.
And maybe Wanye will be the right tackle, or maybe he'll be the right left guard.
Is Trey Smith going to be here?
Trey Smith. Is Creed Humphrey going to be here?
Right.
Is Joe Tooney going to be here? Is Norzad going to pan out? You know, is CG Hansen going to be something? Like, there's a lot of questions here. You know what I mean? Even my guy Kingsley.
Yeah.
What, you know, he's a rookie.
He's still a what if.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, and I've always told you guys this, and I had a rant that I was going to post this week from Trevor and I's episode last week about how I am so obsessed with winning in the trenches that I would rather this team draft heavy in the trenches at defensive line and offensive line every year than wide receiver. Not that you don't need wide receivers. Obviously you do, and you'll take your stabs. You go after guys. You go free agency, trades, whatever. But as long as your priority is, let's make sure we win in the trenches, in my opinion, you're always going to be a Super Bowl contender with Patrick Mahomes. Because you're always, if you're protecting him and you're getting after the other quarterback, your chances of winning the Super Bowl, as proven over these last 2 years, with the Chiefs being second in sacks, third in sacks, top 5 in defense, but Patrick Mahomes on the other side getting protection, just enough protection, you're going to win Super Bowl. So yes, I think every single year you should draft at least one offensive lineman.
Yeah, they're never the sexy picks because it's just not as exciting as taking an elite weapon on either the running back or linebacker or receiver or corner or one of those like sexier, flashier positions that are consistently, being highlighted. But the way you win is in the trenches on both sides of the ball, man.
Yes.
So I'd rather have elite players along the lines than at the skill positions. Next one is from our guy Ruben DeCruz.
Yo.
Lance, who in free agency could we get?
I guess it depends on what position we're talking about.
I would start off what we need at position wise.
Well, I mean, if we look at
running backs,
the running back is so scarce. It's bad.
Right.
It's so bad. I think they still have retired players on there, guys that are no longer playing football. And like
is
Cam
Leonard
Akers,
Fournette a free agent right now?
No, he's with somebody.
Is he? I was gonna say we should. Man, I would love to pick up that.
So, for instance, if we're looking at let's just say we're looking at running backs, right? Available running backs on Spot Rack. Bear with me as I apologize.
That's just the free agent spot that I figured that we have like an actual need for that defensive line maybe.
So here's unrestricted free agents right now. Damian Harris, who allegedly is retired.
Yeah.
Cam Akers, who tore his Achilles last year. Matt Breida, who's like 29 years old. Yeah. Rashad Penny, who's hurt all the time. My boy Kareem Hunt, who might actually start becoming washed.
Bro, I would love to bring him in, though.
Latavius Murray, who's like 38 years old.
Still a stud, though.
Still a stud, but he's old.
Yeah.
Jerick McKinnon, again, we don't know if he's going to retire or not. Marlon Mack, who's hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Josh Kelly, Lynn Bowden, Eno Benjamin. Like, these are unrestricted. These are the names for running backs. So, no, I don't think that any of those guys are dudes the Chiefs kick the tires on. But what wide receiver... There's still some names out there. I'm just not as big on some of these guys because I don't feel like they're like difference makers. So you have Hunter Renfrow, you have Allen Robinson, Tyler Boyd, Michael Thomas, Russell Gage. McColl, I would still bring back McColl if one of the speedsters get hurt. If one of these guys go down for a lengthy period of time, McColl will probably come back. Jamal Agnew. Now, Zay Jones might be the guy.
Yeah.
Zay Jones might be the guy. He's not old. I think he's, 28? 27,
he's
29,
made his money.
29.
He's coming on a vet min. He's a great athlete. He's banged up a lot, but he's a great athlete.
They're saying, if I'm looking at his market value, well, they don't have his market value on Spot Rack, but I imagine the Chiefs can get him on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Jamal Agnew, he's 29 years old. He just turned 29 about a month ago. 6 years. Yeah, he's been in the league for 6 years.
He's played for Doug Peterson. He knows the system a little bit. Doug's system's similar to ours. That would be a smooth.
That's probably the move. If
I
was going to say a wide receiver right now that the Chiefs get, it's probably Zay Jones now at this point with OBJ signing with the Dolphins.
I wouldn't hate that. I mean, Michael Thomas too, just have a veteran, but he's so slow now, man. He's lost so many steps with all his injuries and foot and ankle injuries. I like the big body of Michael Thomas, having him like over the middle, kind of like in a wide receiver / tight end kind of position, like in the red zone. I would love that, but on a down-to-down, snap-to-snap basis, Michael Thomas is not a guy I'd want to see in the red and gold. A few years ago, yeah, maybe, but I think Zay Jones would be the only one I'd really entertain at this point. But I don't think we're going to make a receiver move in the free agency, man. I think we got who we have right now, and that's what we're moving forward with. But I would like to see. I don't know who's out there like defensive lineman-wise or defensive tackles that are out there. I know we got Pennell and we got we brought our guys back, but I still think that the only needs I really see as far as positions goes is along the defensive line and running back room. That's about it. But Deneric Prince and Pirine, I think I take those guys over any of those other free agent running backs that you named. Honestly, outside of maybe McKinnon, I still would kick the tires on McKinnon because when he's healthy, he's still an absolute weapon for this offense. But yeah, man. As far as free agents goes, defensive line and running back.
It's pretty scarce.
There's not much out. There's no sexy names out there at this point, man. A lot of has-beens, but yeah, good question, Ruben.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Last one, Noah John Marshall. Speak it question: Is the camp battle for left tackle just lip service? No shot. Morris beats King and starts week 1, right?
I don't think it's lip service. I don't know if it's that.
I think it's a true competition.
But I do think it is true competition going in.
Yeah.
I think
we know.
Yes, I think what's going to happen. Because remember, a couple years ago when the Creed Humphrey Trey Smith training camp.
Yeah.
Everybody thought, Austin Ryder is probably going to be the starting center. They'll probably start some. I forget. Was it Allegretti? I think still at that time. They're like Allegretti will probably be the starting guard. They just signed Joe Thuney. And I remember going on a show on 810 and telling the host, I was like, guys, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith are going to be starters on this team day one.
Yeah.
Because they're the better players. It might be a competition going into camp, but I'm telling you, both these guys are going to start their rookie years. And a lot of people thought that was nuts. Well, you saw day one at camp. Creed Humphrey was clearly the best center, and Trey Smith was clearly the best right guard. He's better than Allegretti.
Yeah,
yes. So what I think is going to happen is going into camp, you might even see on the first depth chart that Wanye is the starting left tackle, whatever, right? And then what happens is what? Kingsley goes in there, and he puts on a show. And he's like, okay, there's levels to this. This guy's clearly more gifted and prepared for that left tackle role. We're going to start with
sometimes
Kingsley.
It just takes you seeing them in game.
That's exactly it.
What they're capable of when the moment's biggest, and those guys step up. Yeah.
And this isn't to say that Kingsley won't have his struggles.
Sure.
But to that point, we saw Wanye have a lot of struggles last season.
Yeah.
So if he was given leeway with Donovan Smith on the team, I would like to believe that Kingsley is going to get leeway without Donovan Smith on the team, because I don't think Donovan Smith's going to be here to be left tackle 3. I think he's going to get a better offer. He wants to continue to play. You know, there's always injuries in camp. Some team's going to have an injury at left tackle or right tackle or whatever, and they're going to sign Donovan Smith.
Sure.
That's what's going to happen.
Sure. Well, that is it, man. That is it for the questions. That is we already 2.5 hours in, so that
what a
3
fucking show,
works,
man. Great show,
great,
dude.
yeah, great time. Of
you
mine,
guys have been killing the chat today, man. I cannot thank you guys enough.
Yeah.
The chat has just been off the hook this week.
Ruben accounts for about 90% of the comments.
Ruben, keep dropping this shit, man. Like we love all the energy you bring to us, bro. I saw like shout out to Noah John Marshall.
Yeah.
Shout out to Omar, obviously, James D. Kirk. Shout out to Lonnie Pyramid. If I'm forgetting anybody, I apologize. I'm just looking at the YouTube comments. Trevor Price sees all the comments.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, my God, you guys.
Noah chiming in.
Noah Groniger, shout out to Starcade Presidents. I mean, dude, you guys killed it today. Thank you guys so much for Jay Kelsey, Max Wasson. Ruben killed it today. My God, he was lighting up.
Yeah,
Thank you guys for this, man. This helps us big time to get the name out there. And if you guys, man, would be so kind, I would never ask you to, put us, further into your personal lives. But if you know Chiefs fans or you know people that are looking for a sports podcast, hey, go listen to the Spoken Podcast on YouTube. Like word of mouth is what gets you further, man. And we would really, really appreciate it because, like I said, we're not even trying to bullshit y'all. We're really trying to monetize our show because we're so happy for All Chiefed Up and Chief Concerns. They're monetized. We're trying to get to that level now.
Yeah, we want some of that.
Yeah, well, we're trying to grow this thing. We want to get better equipment. We want to be able to have bigger studio spaces. We're trying to grow this thing, man. Like I said, the goal is to make this a full-time career. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
Is you go out there and you get monetized and the door starts to open up. And we want you guys to be a part of that, man. So if you guys would be so kind, man, if you've not already done it, go hit us up on YouTube, Spoken Podcast, subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. Get in the chat, help us with the algorithms, all those things. That's how this stuff works, and we would greatly, greatly, and humbly appreciate that from you guys. Trevor, we got one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold Detail. Each and every episode, we finish off every single episode with a series of L's in the world of sports, whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports. We promise you, who's ever holding these L's in the world of sports deserve these L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's starting with you? And if you have an L and not a W, let me know because I have a W I want to give out first.
Go ahead and give your W first.
Awesome.
So I think we have a similar L.
Similar.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Trevor, and throw up my dub. This is from, everybody shits on this generation, right? People say, oh, this generation's lazy. They don't care about nothing. They're just TikToker motherfuckers. No one ever wants to give this generation credit. Anthony Edwards is 22 years old. And he has this quote. I have never seen so many people be so happy to see an athlete fail more than LeBron. His whole career, he's been hated on constantly and slandered to no end to the point when he retires, nobody would have appreciated his greatness. I'm glad I will be the one who did. Those words gave me goosebumps, man. Coming from a young man, 22 years old, that understands. And look, you don't have to be a LeBron fan, so if you're mad at me for bringing this up, I don't give a shit. But you don't have to be a fan of a player to understand the greatness of who they are and what they've done and what they continue to do. I'm not the biggest fan of some actors and some people that are in the limelight because of things I've heard about them or just things I just don't agree with.
Shit, I hated Tom Brady most of his career, but I can't.
But I mean, like Tom Cruise is a fucking weirdo. But the man makes fucking bangers in the cinema.
Facts.
He makes bangers.
Yep.
And I appreciate what he does. So you don't have to like a person. But what I love is that Anthony already at such a young age understands and gets it that you're supposed to appreciate greatness. I wasn't a Kobe fan ever. I cried the day that man passed away.
Yeah.
Trevor and I went live and we were an emotional wreck because I knew the greatness of that man and how much we lost out on with him and his daughter.
Yeah, man.
It was the saddest fucking day, man.
GG.
It was so sad because in the grand scheme of things, we should appreciate what these people do for us because they give us things to talk about. They give us things to react to. We get to turn our TVs on and they get to entertain us. Think about how entitled we are. That I get to turn my TV on and say, hey, Luka Doncic, entertain me. LeBron James, entertain me. And you don't even have to be a fan and they still entertain you.
Yeah.
So it really, and that's a go too far into this, Trevor. I'm giving a W to Ant-Man for being such a mature athlete and man to understand this perspective. That I feel that this generation that's watched LeBron James live has really robbed themselves of enjoying the greatest athlete we've ever seen. There's never been an athlete that's been better than LeBron James. You can sit here and hold Michael Jordan and say he's the GOAT or whoever you want to fucking say. You have never seen an athlete for this long be this great.
Yeah.
You've never.
Since Wilt Chamberlain in the NBA, he's the greatest athlete to ever play in the NBA.
And Michael and LeBron is facing competition that Wilt could never have dreamed of facing.
Right.
So that's the point I'm trying to make, man, is you don't have to be a fan to acknowledge what this man has done because we would want the same as Chiefs fans for people to do that when Patrick Mahomes is like year 18 and he's still out there playing like, God damn, Patrick's 39 years old, still out here killing it, just won his 6th MVP and his 9th Super Bowl championship. What more does this man got to do? You got to keep the same energy, guys, when you're not a fan of somebody else. You just happen to be a fan of that player, and other people might be born somewhere else, and they're not a fan of that player. You still would expect them to appreciate the greatness of Patrick Mahomes, right? It's got to be the same energy, man. So W to Ant. W to what he said in this. Like I said, it gave me chills when I read this because, like I said, it sounded like something from a 40-year-old man, which is just such a wise, seasoned perspective.
He is wise beyond his years.
Man.
You can see in his game, too. He has a savvy, veteran-esque game to him. He's very crafty. He's not out of control.
Trevor speaks, let me just put it like this. Trevor speaks for both of us on this L.
Yeah. So my L is going to go, and I'm sure everyone's seen it at this point. It's definitely made its rounds, and ESPN made it very clear that this man is no longer allowed on any of their platforms for any appearances moving forward because of this reason. And I'm going to go ahead and play this clip from our one and only Patrick Beverley.
Here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Before I finish.
Yeah.
You subscribe to my pod?
Do I subscribe to you? I do not.
So you can't interview me then. No
Okay,
disrespect.
well, Jamal is here.
You subscribe? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Again, there were a couple times within a bucket or two. In previous games, y'all have been able to kind of get over that hump, or maybe. Was it anything they did in particular, or was it just one of those where the bucket didn't go down, there wasn't the stop, they made one? What kind of prevented that you all from being able to get over, kind of like you have in the past?
You move that mic, please, or just get out the circle, please, for me, please, ma'am. If you're not subscribed to my pod, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I mean, let me just be very, very clear here real quick. This is after the fact that this man threw a basketball into the stands twice. The first one hitting a woman in the head. Second one, apparently the fan said something in return. He threw the ball back at the fans because someone hurt his feelings. This is a guy who's had numerous antics and cowardly moves by pushing, Chris Paul in the back and doing all kinds of other things that were cowardly behind other players' backs and never truly bucking up to anyone's face. This is a guy, and then he ends his career is over. Let me just make that very clear right now. He ends his career going off on a high note of misogyny. That's clearly what this was. This has nothing to do with his podcast. For some reason, he took issue with a woman asking him a question after the fact that he threw a ball in the stands, lost control of himself. Poor example of what a man should be. He's letting it out on the weakest person in the room, physically. It's embarrassing. This was really hard for me to watch. As a father of a daughter, as say if my daughter grew up to be, in that woman's position, worked hard, went to school for journalism, blah, 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 to get to that point where she can be in the locker rooms post-playoff NBA games to do her job and live her dream, and you got a man there telling her that she's not subscribed to his podcast that I didn't even know existed. She needs to get out of the circle. It's maddening to me, bro. Like I couldn't even. I did not even. I mean, we've seen the likes of Cam Newton and having his slip up and stuff, but he's at least had the wherewithal and the mindfulness to come out and apologize. And he's since then changed his tune in a lot of ways and has grown as a man. Yep. Pat Beverly, this is who he's been since the very fucking beginning, and I cannot stand this guy. As a competitor, I do appreciate what he does in the court as a competitor. The guy does have fuel, and he can be a guy that can add that element to a team, but he is not a good person. This is something that your true colors come out when you're at your lowest point, and this was him in his lowest point, and this is who he was. So...
Before you give the L,
I mean, whatever else you want to add to this, man.
You said it perfectly. I'm not going to try to double stamp on any of that. I'm going to put a name to the woman because this woman deserves all the respect in the world for who she is. Her name is Melinda Adams, and according to almost every single ESPN employee that's out there, like Brian Windhorst and Kimberly Martin, even former ESPN athletes, it didn't have to come to her defense, have all sung the praises of this woman for what she's done. She's a field reporting manager, which means she's trained a lot of the reporters, which means this woman's very important and very valuable and very loved and respected amongst her peers and colleagues and people under her. And the most beautiful part of all this is the fact that Melinda received an apology from Pat, whether it's real or not. Don't give a shit. She tweeted out, "I want to thank everyone for their kind words and support. I am humbled. Patrick Beverly called me and apologized. I appreciated and accepted it. The Bucks also reached out to apologize. I've been in news for over 40 years, and kindness and grace always win." That is a powerful woman, man. Yeah. To be able to be, she was humiliated, like Trevor said, was absolutely humiliated in front of people that she's probably trained.
Yep.
Just getting dressed down, man, from a piece of shit, egomaniacal loser. And
literally a loser. That's
literally a
all
loser
in his career, yeah.
And still comes out here and says something like that.
Yeah,
like,
wow.
If that doesn't teach you how to be a better human, I don't know what will. Because it definitely taught me. Because I wouldn't have handled it like she did.
Yeah.
I'd have swung at the dude. I ain't gonna lie.
She took a very stoic approach, and I appreciate
Pat Beverly and I would have been swinging fists. Swear to God, I would not have taken that as a man with pride. I would have fought that dude.
Well, and like I was saying, like that, and that's not even just the whole story. Like when you saw the antics leading into the end of the game, him throwing multiple basketballs into the
hit a woman in the face.
The first one, he hit a woman right in the face, and then they threw it back at him after they tried to give him the ball back. It's crazy. I don't know how that dude didn't jump out of the stands and go after his ass. I ain't gonna lie.
And if you want to
hit my
watch
woman in the face, bro, it's on, bro.
I know, like the Cook Channel, the Food Network does a really good job of showing, when people cook.
Yeah.
Nick Wright cooked really well on First Things First yesterday. If you want to watch that and enjoy that, and what he said about Pat Beverly, because he's had exclusive rights on this story with Pat Bev, because he saw him back in the Houston days when Nick was down there in Houston radio.
He was given his first real opportunity. Yeah.
So, Trevor, you take away, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. So for him exposing his weakness in the moment when he cannot handle his loss once again, I think this is a man that knows his career is over. This is a man that has to face his demons here now, and this is how he's going to end his quote unquote legacy of what he is as a man and as an athlete. And he ends it in a dreadful way, unfortunately. And you have to live with your choices and the consequences of those choices. So for that, Patrick Beverly, do me a solid favor and hold that hell.
And I don't know if you guys noticed, we brought back the voices. I hope you guys are happy about that. We experimented with the hold the cell thing. We thought it was kind of cute, kind of fun. Y'all said, fuck that. Get back to screaming in the mics. And that's what we did. Because we want to give the people what they want. Like I told Trevor, we're going to give the people what they want. You guys wanted that back. So James T. Kirk, you're welcome, brother. You know what? Like I said, you guys were awesome today. I really, from the bottom of my heart, mean that. You guys make this show so much more fun. Like, Trevor and I, when we first started this thing as a podcast, we didn't have interaction with you guys. It was always after the fact. So what we've been able to do now, when we're able to talk to you guys as the show's going, is what makes it adds so much diversity to the show. It brings so much more of a fun element to things because we can talk to you guys live on air. We're not, there's none of this is scripted. None of this is where I'm sitting here thinking about things. I had to give you guys an honest reaction immediately. It keeps the show authentic. It keeps it fun. And I hope you guys have fun every week. I'm so glad to be back here at 11 a.m. with you guys. I know last week was weird with the draft, but we're back. normal schedule, as always. We're going to keep riding this thing, guys, because we have a blast every single week with you guys. Tell your friends about us. We would greatly appreciate it. Go follow All Chiefed Up. Go follow Chief Concerns. Follow all of our Starcade Media shows. This Tuesday, I will be on Arrowhead Allies. So go to YouTube to Starcade Media. You'll see it on our page as well. So you can just subscribe here and it'll go live as well. I will be back on Tuesday, and Trevor and I will be back on next week. So I hope you guys enjoy this because, like I said, we still have plenty of content to give you guys as we do, even during the regular season, playoffs, all that. We still do it in the offseason. We keep the ball rolling. So for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Windler that puts this together on the back end of things, for the entire Starcade Media family, for All Cheaped Up, Mike and Stephen Williams, appreciate you guys. I'm Lance Twidwell. Episode 266 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we're back here in 1 week's time to talk about whatever the hell's going on in the world of sports, we out of this bitch.
Later.